Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Market Open. It is Thursday, March 20th, 2025. And we are ending out pretty much the third week of trading for March. Tomorrow is Friday, and then we are done for the week. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about based on what happened yesterday. Jerome Powell and the Fed decided to pause rates and not cut, which is kind of what we expected, but the implications of that are what we're going to be talking about today. We got a couple of headlines around Nvidia last night. We had some reports that Nvidia is getting ready to invest, quote unquote, hundreds of billions of dollars over the next 4 years into U.S. manufacturing and chips. This also is very congruent with what Jensen told CNBC last night, which is that we need to invest in American chips. And he also said tariffs are not going to have that much of an impact on Nvidia, which I think was one of the reasons why Nvidia was up yesterday. So we'll talk about that. Tesla got some upgrades. We have some breaking news on Tesla literally 5 minutes ago. Cybertruck manufacturing looks like it's gotten a lot better, and the battery production for Cybertrucks might significantly decrease manufacturing costs. The information just reported that. So we'll talk about the implications of what that means for Tesla. And then we have the pre-markets, which are not green anymore. They were green last night. Overnight, it was going kind of crazy. You had individual stocks up 4 or 5%. Everything's red in the pre-markets. Pretty much everything is red. And the reason everything is red, I have a theory on it. Maybe my theory is wrong, but late last night, I think at around basically 12 a.m., we did get a Trump tweet about tariffs. It was a small tweet, but it was a tweet indeed. And so I guess the markets potentially are selling a little bit of the rip that we had yesterday, because it was a hell of a rip. S&P was up 1%. Robinhood was up 7%. Palantir was up 4%. Tesla was up 5%. So like, it was a good day yesterday. I just don't know if it's going to last, which has kind of been the theme of every single green day. The next day, especially in the pre-markets, tends to not last. So we got a lot to talk about. We'll get into it. We'll analyze all the stuff. Also, the Bank of England decided to not raise rates either, or cut rates. So following the United States, they cut rates the previous 2 times. They're deciding to hold. So you've got a lot of other central banks across the world that are saying, all right, we're going to pause a little bit. We'll see what the United States does. And the U.S. really is not getting ready to cut till the earliest June based on the probabilities we're looking at. But you have some other banks across the world also deciding that they are going to wait. All right, let's get into it. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Brett, what's up? Good morning. Another day of the equity markets. That is correct. That is correct. Thank you for being here. John, Jasmine, Chad, Scott, Troy, June, good morning. Daniel, what's up? Quarantine Quartet. Thank you for being here. Andy, good morning, everybody. Gene, what's up? Yuzi, AL. Andy, Demon King. Yeah, the 10-year is down as well. The 10-year is down. That's not really helping stocks right now, but that is really good. Wow, the 10-year is actually, hold on. What? I saw the 10-year was down this morning, but I didn't see it was down below 4.2. Huh. I wonder what headline is causing that. Julian, good morning. Kevin, good morning. Thank you for being here today. JP, what's up? Silly Blunt, what's up? Lane, good morning. Jason, Joseph. Switzerland cut their rates. Okay, I didn't see that. We got the Swiss cutting some rates. We'll pull that up and see what that looks like. Also, we have jobs data, but the jobs data was kind of a nothing burger for initial jobs claims, so we'll talk about that as well. But it wasn't anything too crazy. Crowd Control, what's up? Electronic Heat Mover Podcast. I got the name. All right, so if you were on the market close yesterday, I was trying to figure out what you call something that you move a dial on that electronically controls the heat. And for the life of me, I could not think of the word, so I came up with electronic heat mover thingy. It was a thermostat. It was like, Steve called into the show. I asked him if he knew. I described what I described, and I said, what do you call this? And within like 0.2 milliseconds, he's like, oh, it's a thermostat. And I was like, all right, so I guess I'm the only one in the world that didn't know what a thermostat was. Archit, what's up? Sim Singh, what's up? Samal, what's up? Jake, good morning for being here. Thank you. Blake Anderson, Jimmy Edwards, Jerry. All right, let's get into it. Let's get started. So what happened last night? This is my theory on why the stock market is at least red right now in the pre-markets. We'll see what it opens up at 9:30. This is what Trump tweeted. About 3 sentences. He says the Fed would be much better off cutting rates as U.S. tariffs start to transition their way into the economy. Do the right thing. April 2nd is Liberation Day in America. Okay, so this was not what the market wanted to hear. Why? Because this was the first tweet in over 5 days or 4 days where Trump finally mentioned tariffs. He hasn't mentioned them for the past 4 days. He mentioned them last night. And the problem with this is the last sentence, April 2nd is Liberation Day in America. My theory is still, and I'm sticking to it, I don't think we're going to get massive, massive tariffs unveiled on April 2nd. I think there's going to be some level of negotiation. I know that Trump is basically promising to reciprocate all the tariffs that have been imposed on us. So if India is tariffing our alcohol by 100%, he wants to reciprocate that on April 2nd, not just on Canada and Mexico, but across the entire world. I think his team is working overnight to get some deals done every single day so that April 2nd doesn't become quote unquote Liberation Day in that respect. Now, if we have massive tariffs, just like 2018, this is what Jay Powell talked about yesterday, it will be inflationary. I mean, like he even said tariff inflation will be transitory, which triggered a lot of people by using the two T words in the same sentence. But it probably will have some level of inflationary impact, which is why Trump is saying, hey, if the Fed were smart, because we got these tariffs coming up, they would cut rates so that we could offset some of the inflation expectations or growth expectations. But the problem is the Fed's not going to cut rates anytime soon. And Jay Powell made that pretty clear yesterday by essentially saying that we think the labor market needs to significantly weaken or we think inflation needs to come down. They are encouraged by the results, but they're not encouraged to the point where they would be cutting anytime soon. Jay Powell even pretty much denied the idea that in May we would get any type of meaningful cut after being explicitly asked about that. So I think based on Trump saying that, that is why we're getting a little bit of pain right here. Freedom Thinker says, I called it yesterday. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us were waiting for him to finally speak about tariffs, and April 2nd being Liberation Day. It's not going to liberate the stock market, that's for sure. Maybe it might liberate American manufacturing if his plan goes into effect the way he thinks it will. But yeah, not going to be the best for stocks. So the kind of core theme here is that even after Jay Powell gave us the most dovish presser that you could imagine, I mean, really, I couldn't, unless he literally said, yeah, we're going to cut soon. I can't imagine a more dovish press conference. You have the overhang of tariffs on April 2nd that are going to create some issues for the broader market. But again, this goes back to the theory that 10 years coming down, probably that 10 years coming down, maybe off the potential of Trump's tweets. That's what Scott Bessent and the administration wants. So if we do have a 10-year that's down, but we have a stock market that also falls 4 or 5%, I don't think the administration would necessarily hate it. And we haven't gotten 4.1 in a while. Like last time we had 4.1 meaningfully was December 6th. December 6th. Last time we really held 4.1. So if we can continue to even get lower from these levels, I think the market would be rather excited. DL says we are definitely getting tariffs. I do think we are getting tariffs. I just don't know if it's going to be the extent of what Trump wants it to be, given all the delays. Now, maybe I'm wrong on that, and it's just some massive approach of tariffs and completely America gets into a trade war with all of our partners. I'm just skeptical on it. I really don't think that's what Trump's trying to do, but maybe he is. I think he's trying to use this as a negotiation tactic to get us some level of a deal where there's tariffs, but they're not that wide ranging. If we do have that level of a trade war, I think things are going to be ugly. Like it's just that if we actually do have 25% tariffs across the board, reciprocal tariffs against Europe, India, etc., I don't know how the market necessarily gets excited based on earnings growth when you've got those tariffs that are eventually going to be factored in. And that's why I think Jay Powell warned everyone by saying tariff inflation is transitory. It was triggering everyone because no one wanted to hear him say that, that transitory word, because last time he said it, he was wrong. But that is what he said. And eventually we're going to have to see if that ends up taking into account. Now, given all the volatility that we're seeing up and down, here's a historical statistic that I think matters in the context of 2025, looking back at 2022. So S&P 500 fell from 459 to 402, which was negative 12%. Then it jumped back to 438. That was up 9%. Then it fell 393. That was down 10%. Then it jumped back to 443. That was up 13%. That was in the first 3 months of 2024 or 2022. Over the next 6 months, we fell to 365, negative 18%, up to 400, up 9%, down to 349, negative 13%, up to 416, up 20%, then back down to 337, down 19%. I thought this stat was really important to share to everybody because I think most people forgot how up and down 2022 was. At the end of the day, we went down 19% for the year on the S&P, 37% for the year on the Qs. But even I, when I saw the stat this morning, forgot how much of a choppy market it was and how many moments of hope, what we talk about as cruel optimism. We discussed a couple weeks ago, this like idea that you're optimistic, but it's only going to get shut down from the reality of the optimism just not being justified. And then you end up going up or down 10 or 15%. and you realize that those buying opportunities were not buying opportunities. So do I think that's going to happen this year? I think if we resolve the trade war in the next month, no. I think we can get a trend either going up or either going down based on how the trade war plays out. And I don't think it has to be that choppy. And the reason I don't think it has to be that choppy is for two reasons. Well, I think the Fed's going to be cutting rates. The Fed did confirm 2 rate cuts in 2025. That doesn't mean it has to happen, but that's what they put out on their dot plot. So you have a cooperative Fed versus a Fed that's raising rates and that's more antagonistic towards equities, which is what we had in 2022. And you have earnings growth. 2022 had 0 earnings growth. 2022 had quote unquote year of efficiencies. That's where Meta, Google, Amazon started cutting a lot of workers, getting rid of a lot of middle management, et cetera. So they became more efficient. Their margins went up, but it wasn't earnings. 2025, as of Q4 from 2024, which we just got a month ago, earnings have been phenomenal. And hopefully that continues into Q1. But I think that, along with the Fed being more cooperative, hopefully will not be the worst thing in the world in the context of the market being this choppy, going up 15%, down 20%, up 10%, down 20%. Now, another thing the Fed did yesterday is that they unveiled a plan to limit the amount of QT. Quantitative tightening is essentially the Fed selling off assets on their balance sheet. And those assets, in this case, tend to be treasuries. Quantitative easing is when the Fed buys up these assets, which gets interest rates to come down, gets bond yields to come down, which is really good for equity. So quantitative easing is essentially unleashing the money printer, and that money printer allows liquidity into the system, which allows the stock market to do very well. Only President Waller yesterday dissented to doing that, which again, I still don't understand because he's one of the more dovish Fed presidents, but 11 out of 12 of the Fed presidents said, hey, we think that we should be slowing down the pace of quantitative tightening. Also, 9 out of 12 of them agreed on 2 rate cuts this year. The other 4 said like maybe we should only have 1 cut. So the majority of the Fed is on the track to cut rates and lower the pace of quantitative tightening, which would then allow yields to have a better shot of going down, because every time you sell bonds, yields go up. If the Fed stops selling as aggressively as they're selling, and we get a regulation passed that allows banks to hold more treasuries on their balance sheets, you have 2 dual forces, which is exactly what Trump wants for the 10-year, the 2-year, the 5-year, all these yields to inevitably come down, which helps interest rates and helps mortgage rates as well. Will that happen? We'll see as a function of markets, but that was the bullishness of the presser yesterday. Basically, it was Jay Powell saying, hey, yeah, we're going to cooperate with this administration in the context of what they want on yields. And that QT news to me was the way of him saying that. Bitcoin right here at 85,331. So as a result, Bitcoin pumped as well. Now, there are 2 reasons Bitcoin pumped yesterday from like 83 to 87. At one point last night, it was almost at 88. Number 1, Trump is speaking at a crypto summit today, along with Michael Saylor. So that'll be happening later today. There's rumors that Trump is going to announce something important. One of the rumors is that he's going to announce 0% capital gains tax on crypto. Again, it's a rumor. I would be surprised if that happened. I also wonder, would that make people sell crypto a lot more if they don't have to pay taxes on it? So I don't know kind of how that's going to play out, but we should get an update from him and Saylor today at the crypto summit. And then number 2, the Fed said they're going to stop QT as high as they've done it, or as fast as they've done it before, which is going to unlock more liquidity for Bitcoin, which is good for Bitcoin. So, I mean, it was a nice pump last night. I don't know if we can really trust it. Maybe Trump's announcement today is a nothing burger, but something hopefully is in the back rear for Bitcoin to get more excited. When is Trump talking? We have no idea. I don't even know if it's going to be live when he's talking. I think the summit is at like in the afternoon, like later in the day, maybe even after the market close. So I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know if he's speaking on the stage. Well, he should be, because if he's speaking, yeah, it's a summit that's going to be. So we should get content from him later in the day. The question is what he's going to talk about. Saylor is definitely talking. That's for sure. That we can confirm. And so based on what Saylor and Trump say, maybe we would get a little pump on Bitcoin. Amit, let's be honest. We hear the same BS from the Feds. At the end of the day, it's a business. You make money in a bear market more than you do bullish. That's a statistical fact. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And the Fed, quite frankly, you could chop it up to what the Fed said is we're data dependent, even though they said some things that made the market more excited based on quantitative tightening. But yeah, at the end of the day, we are going to need rates to come down to make any of this really make sense. And so far, the Fed has not signaled they're getting ready to meaningfully cut rates. Even they were asked in May, are you cutting rates? And they said no. The May probabilities went down to 16%. Jay Powell didn't literally say no, but he basically pushed off the idea of cutting rates. Most banks don't think until September we get that first rate cut. Some banks are thinking by June there's a shot. I think it depends on yields. It depends on CPI, PPI, how much lower can they actually go. Would people buy more Bitcoin if there's not going to be crypto gains tax? I think, yeah, it would definitely incentivize people to do more buying as well, because they would feel like it's an asset they can freely trade. But you might have some people that are sitting on some juicy gains on Bitcoin and they're just not selling because they don't want to pay the taxes on it. And maybe they're like, all right, well, that's going to be my opportunity to finally get liquid. I don't know. I don't know. Also, one of the ideas I had to fund the strategic crypto reserve is to collect some of the tax revenue from people's capital gains on Bitcoin and use that in the reserve. Maybe that's not the best idea, but I haven't heard other ideas on how you would fund it in a deficit neutral way. And this is not that deficit neutral, but at least it's somewhat can relate to the crypto industry. But there's going to have to be some plan on how we fund the reserve. And I think Trump's also going to have to make some announcements on what the next steps are outside of the reserve, which was kind of just like an executive order that hasn't done much yet to get Bitcoin to get more exciting. Amazon's down 1%, Google's down 1%, Archer is down 2%. I did upload the Archer interview last night. So for anyone who saw that, that is on the channel and you can check it out. That was with the CEO, Adam Goldstein. Elf right here is down 1%. Boeing increased their Q1 guidance yesterday for free cash flow. That's why they were up 7%. They're down a little bit right now in the pre-markets, but that's why they had some momentum. Dollar General is down a little bit. Celsius down about 1%. Nvidia down another 0.5%, 117 to 116. They were up almost 4% yesterday, then they fell to 117. Currently right now down about 0.5%. And then Tessie is down 1.5% again, currently right now. Let's get an update from Dan Niles and see what he has to say about what the Fed talked about, and then we'll keep going from there.
The show, and let's start right there. We've talked a lot about the fact that there's not necessarily a Trump put in this market, but did Powell reinforce today the fact that there is a Fed put?
Rightly or wrongly, he did, because I think if you look at it, they're still looking at 2 rate cuts this year, and that's despite the fact that they edged up their inflation forecasts, and inflation is not near that 2% mark. And what kind of surprised me is I thought, transitory was dead and gone after the massive mistake they made in 2022 by calling that inflation transitory, or 2021, I should say, calling that inflation transitory. And that's sort of come back in that they're trying to look through the fact that a lot of inflation measures are headed higher. So I've often said it's not about...
It looks like 10:40. Okay, yeah, you guys are saying 10:40. So 10:40, Trump is going to be talking. We'll see if we can get that live. But Trump should be talking for around the crypto summit at about 10:40. So basically in about an hour.
Oh, what the reality is. It's about what people think the reality is. And much like in 2021, where inflation went from 1.4% to 7%. But the S&P in 2021 was still up 27% because the Fed said it was transitory. If the Fed is still kind of on that path right now, then yeah, I think you could have the market continue to go higher. That's what I wrote this morning, just because it was at oversold levels. But I think Q1 earnings season is going to be a massive wake-up call. But in the near term, do I see more upside? Sure, until companies have to start reporting.
So when you say you think Q1 is going to be earnings season is going to be a massive wake-up call, in what way? You think companies are just going to be revising lower their guidance amid economic uncertainty from trade and other things?
Absolutely, because I mean, if you think about the quarters, the March quarter starts off slow because we're all in the holidays, right? It's the New Year's, etc. Then, so more than normal, the quarter is back end loaded, where the last couple of weeks of March is where a lot of business gets done. But what do you have on April 2nd? You have reciprocal tariffs. Do you think a lot of consumers or businesses, more importantly, are going to go out and make some huge decisions at the end of March when you know you've got reciprocal tariffs sitting on April 2nd? So you saw this with the airlines, obviously, a week or two ago, where every single one of them cut based on business travel going down or consumer travel going down, or both. And some of the revisions were pretty large, especially given oil prices have moved down. So I think this pre-announcement season, and then more importantly, the earnings season coming up in Q1, is going to be problematic. And don't forget, estimates were already going down before all of this happened. If you look at the Q4 results, when the Mag 7 reported, 6 of the 7 companies had the forward revenue estimates cut for the most important companies out there. So estimates were already edging down for the most important stocks. And now you've got this uncertainty sitting on top of it. Each one of the Mag 7s obviously a little bit different, but I think you're going to see that trend continue and potentially accelerate. Just like Powell, if you look at what he had for GDP, 2 months ago, it was sitting at 2.1%. Now it's sitting at 1.7%. You've had a 0.4 of a reduction in 2 months in GDP growth rate. The last time we saw something that severe was during COVID. So, you know, I'm happy to see the market taking this well, but if this was 2 weeks ago, you would have gotten a very different result, I think, to those dot plots.
So, I mean, that's basically Dan Niles being pseudo bullish in the short term, very similar to what Mike Wilson said yesterday, but a bit more bearish long term around the concept of tariff inflation. And like, you can't really blame him, because if you think tariffs are going to be inflationary, then yeah, it's hard to be able to get super excited with April 2nd coming up. Some people are saying, well, is it really a trade war if these companies are already tariffing us as aggressively as they are? And look, that's Trump's entire point, which is that India, the European Union, et cetera, they're ripping us off, so we need to reciprocate. It's just the byproduct of that reciprocation is a trade war, like a full-on attack from both sides, which is why I think those countries are going to be like, okay, we're not going to tariff the crap out of you if you are going to try to tariff the crap out of us. So let's both come to a conclusion where we can negotiate something reasonable. And I have faith that that's going to happen. But if it doesn't, then it ends up becoming pretty ugly. And that's just not going to be good for anyone. Definitely not the stock market as well. Initial jobless claims in America came out this morning. It rose by 2,000 to 223,000 for the second week of March. It was below the expectations of 224. So still, we are at relatively low levels when it comes to initial jobless claims. We are not seeing, as obviously in 2020, 2021, we saw massively higher numbers as people were losing their jobs. That has started to change. Again, the job market's not that weak based on the BLS data we're getting. JOLTS, initial jobless claims, and non-farm payrolls show a relatively healthy job market. Now, maybe we need a couple more months of data for it to really show us how ugly it is. But if you look at the same metrics that we've been looking at for the past year, it doesn't look like the job market yet is getting that bad, which is why the probabilities of a rate cut are not going up that much, because Jay Powell doesn't have a significant reason to get excited to cut if the job market's okay. And now it's just a question of like when inflation meaningfully comes down. That's why one of the questions asked against Jay Powell yesterday, which was a good question of like, hey, do we need a recession to get inflation to come down? Do we need people to lose all their jobs in order for inflation to meaningfully come down? And I think he did a great job at the press conference, and he answered it. And his argument was just like, hey, we don't think this is the 1970s. We think that the hard data is really good, even if the soft data might be showing some forms of weakness. And in general, we don't need some massive recession to create the pain in the market that would be needed to get inflation to come down. Now, is he going to be right about that? No one knows. But hopefully that would be how it plays out. And that would be leading us to not have this insane recession to get here. Here's what Jay Powell said yesterday about tariffs and tariff inflation.
Nick Timmeros, The Wall Street Journal. Chair Powell, Chair Greenspan once defined price stability as an environment in which inflation is so low and stable over time that it doesn't materially enter into the decisions of households and firms. Can you say that today, that we have that price stability, that households and businesses are ignoring price growth when you see buy in advance psychology, big changes in inventories, and surveys that show consumers, at least in the short run, expect higher inflation?
So I do like that definition a lot. In fact, I used it at the recent conference where I spoke. So I think a world where people can make their daily economic decisions in businesses and they're not having to think about the possibility of significantly high inflation. We know inflation will bounce around. That is price stability. You know, I think we were getting closer and closer to that. I wouldn't say we were at that. Inflation was running around 2.5% for some time. I do think with the arrival of the tariff inflation, further progress may be delayed. The SEP doesn't really show further downward progress on inflation this year. And that's
So right there, Jay Powell says, hey, if we get tariff inflation like we did in 2018, the progress we're making on inflation will get delayed. So right now we're at 2.8. The Fed wants to get 2%. That extra 0.8% to really get it down to what the Fed wants, even to get to 2.2, 2.3. Jay Powell is warning here that tariffs might not really allow that to happen anytime soon.
That's really due to the tariffs coming in. So delayed, but if you look at our forecasts, we do see ourselves getting back into the low twos in 26 and then down to 2 by 27, of course, highly uncertain. So I see progress having been made toward that, and then progress in the future. I think that progress is probably delayed for the time being.
If that's the case, why are there cuts in the SEP for 2025?
So again, people wrote down 2 cuts the last time, and they look at the, they wrote down, meaningful decline in growth from 2.1 to 1.7 in 2025, a tick up in the unemployment rate, so not much there, but core inflation up by 0.3. And so those kind of balance each other out. So people, not everybody, but on balance, people wrote down similar numbers. The changes aren't that big. The other factor, though, as I mentioned, is just really high uncertainty. What would you write down? I mean, it's really hard to know how this is going to work out. And again, we think our policy is in a good place. We think it's a good place where we can move in the direction where we need to. But in the meantime, it's really appropriate to wait for further clarity. And of course, the costs of doing that, given that the economy is still solid, are very low.
So again, Jay Powell basically saying, hey, we think we're making good progress. We think we're going to get that progress to be at a level where we see meaningful reductions in inflation. But based on this new tariff volatility, they don't expect 2% till 2027, right? Like a legit 2.0%, which I don't know, dude. In 2 years, do we really get inflation that low given all the different uncertainties we have? That's their projection, but maybe it's earlier. But if there are way too many circumstances that could jack it up, unless we get like a recession to take us down, that is going to be the underlying question, I think, for the next couple of years. Here's a good chart, actually, that I also think gives an understanding of where we are in the bull cycle. By the way, shout out to Farzad right here in the chat. Farzad says, guarantee you Fed is way, 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 way late on lowering rates. They're always late on everything. That is correct. Farzad just had a podcast with Kathy Wood on his channel. So you guys can check out that podcast right here. Looking good here. We had Kathy give some predictions on what's going on with Elon, Tesla, all that stuff. So everyone can make sure to check that out right there in the description. So this chart right here is very similar to what we experienced in previous 4-year bull market cycles. And it kind of gives you a better understanding of where we currently are, which is the same word that we've been kind of using all year, which is just choppy, right? This is the word. So year 1 of the bull market, everything's great. Everything's fine. We have a little bit of pain, but every dip you buy. Year 2, a little bit more pain, but every dip you buy. Year 3, it's like underperforming year 1, year 2, year 4 significantly. And every dip's not really a buy because you could get even a better dip price. And then by year 4, we have an explosive bull market. And then year 5, everything kind of pops. So again, we looked at a lot of historical indicators on what year 3 would look like, which is essentially October 2024 so far to March 2025. And it's shaping up to be ugly, choppy, not fun, cruelly optimistic. You get green one day, red the next 3 hours later. And you're left wondering why you even bought a certain stock at a certain level when you could get it for 20% cheaper. So it's one of those things that I think historically we have to deal with and navigate. But this is also what Jay Powell's kind of signaling, which is, hey, it's going to be choppy. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun. And with tariffs, it creates a whole new level of volatility that we have to deal with as well. So I guess we'll figure it out as we run into it over the coming months. 10-year still down right now as well. So we got the 10-year getting hit. 10-year is at, 4.182. We listen to Percent on the Olin podcast. This is the only thing he cares about, getting this thing down. The question will be how much pain do we have to go through to ultimately get it down. Farzad says, got to have Amit back on the pod. Going to DM you. Yes, 100% Farzad. Let's absolutely do this. In fact, let's pull up his Kathy Wood pod and let's try to see if we can get a segment out of this where she's discussing Tesla. I think there was a good segment I was looking at last night on this. Let me pull this up right here. Okay, yeah. So let's listen to a little bit of this pod. So again, Farzad had this podcast with Kathy on the channel yesterday on his like media channel. So let's pull this up, listen to a little bit of it, and then we'll keep going from there.
Remember trying to communicate to her at the time about Elon Musk, and Tesla was a shadow of what it is right now. And I actually said, Elon Musk is the Thomas Edison of our time. And here I'm feeling we probably had $100 million under management, right? Almost nothing. And I walked out, I said, I hope I'm right on that, because it just came out naturally. It wasn't anything I had ever seen.
Dude, for all the shit Kathy gets, she was like one of the only people that was right on Tesla. Like that is the one flower she will have to be given for the rest of her life. She got Tesla right. Yeah, she might have got some other growth stocks wrong, whatever, but she freaking got Tesla right. And she made a lot of money off of Tesla. And if Tesla actually does become what she thinks it can become, which is like, I think a $2,000 price target in the next 3-4 years, she's going to get Tesla right again.
Said before. And that's often what happens. Actually.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever studied Edison's life, but he was in the center of, this second industrial revolution.
Definitely.
And his patents or his discoveries, his inventions really are the pattern of that era and of what was the substance of that revolution.
Yes.
So he may not have been the inventor of everything he invented, but he certainly brought those to the market in many ways the way Elon has.
Yes.
And so, that brought the magic of what followed in terms of our industrial expansion. And I think we're probably going to see the same thing. And that's the thesis, I think,
Yes. And what's so interesting about that time, and we do look at that as the last time we went through something like we're going through now, it took global real GDP growth, those sets of inventions, from what Brett Winton, our chief futurist, in consultation with academia, believes was 0.6% real GDP growth for 400 years to 3%, a 5-fold acceleration in the growth rate Elon is doing now, and other inventors, but certainly Elon leading the charge. We believe is going to more than double real GDP growth, which many people think is crazy. They can't imagine real GDP growing 7-8%. And yet it's nothing like the 5-fold increase. We think it's conservative.
Yeah. And
I mean, look, if Elon can double core GDP growth because of Robotaxi and Optimus, I mean, shit, bro, that's going to be, it's going to be one of those things where I was thinking about this last night. I think I talked about this with Steve. If let's just say Optimus at its highest level does work, right? Let's just assume for a second Optimus will become the thing that we think it can become, which is one of those products that has hundreds of billions of dollars in net income, which would mean trillions of dollars of revenue. Let's assume 10 years out, like it actually plays out. How crazy would be that in 2025, the fear was quote unquote brand damage as the reason to not really seriously consider Tesla. That doesn't mean Tesla's not overvalued right here. That doesn't mean Q1's not going to suck with the auto revenues, but it's just one of those things where there's not many, and I actually talked about this last time on the Microsoft earnings. The reason Microsoft went down after earnings and then Tesla went up, and then Tesla obviously went down a month later, but the reason there was that disconnect is because Microsoft didn't give you a reason to get excited about the future. Like Microsoft's $3 trillion, no one after that earnings was like, oh, they're definitely going to go to $6 trillion. I should buy Microsoft. But Tesla, for good or for worse, after listening to Elon, after just like, hearing him talk about FSD robotics, you think it has a shot to go to 10 trillion or 20 trillion. And so people ended up buying it at 1.3 trillion or whatever it was trading at after earnings in January, because like you're just inspired. Now, again, for the past 5 years, it has really been based on entry price. If you've bought in at the highs, you've been bag holding really badly. If you bought in at the lows, you've kind of been breaking even unless you really got in at the very low in 2023. Or 2020 before everything officially took off. But if he's right about his core products becoming GDP magnifiers for the United States, Tesla stock will benefit. And it'll probably be priced at a ridiculous multiple, but it will benefit because everyone's going to want to be chasing it. And speaking of Tesla, let's get into one of the reports that came out this morning. Yesterday, they got upgraded by Cantor Fitzgerald to 425. And basically, Cantor Fitzgerald was like, ignore all the brand problems. They are going to win when it comes to FSD and robotics. Piper Sandler took them down from 500 to 450, but they still have an overweight target. And they said this isn't the first time Tesla has doubled and got cut in half, and it won't be the last. So they write, Tesla's now back to its pre-election valuation. Remember, this isn't the first time Tesla's doubled and subsequently got cut in half, and it likely won't be the last. In our view, nothing has changed. Read Tesla's ability to remake the world's transportation and energy markets. We are cutting our 2025 delivery expectations, and quarter-to-date trends may prompt others to follow suit, but we don't think politics are entirely to blame. Rather, factory shutdowns and the Model Y changeover are the primary cause of lower deliveries. So you got Piper Sandler saying it's not about the brand stuff that people are complaining about. It's about actual logistical issues in the supply chain. Although our 450 price target is based on PE, our DCF-based methodology still implies a $300 plus valuation, and that's with no contribution from humanoid robots or AI as a service. In other words, at $234 a share, we think Tesla is cheap solely based on autos, energy, and FSD. And I mean, again, like, we're going to see over the coming months how right the analysts are. Maybe the analysts are right, but like they're not right in the short term because Tesla might go through a little bit of a correction after Q1. Or, as we talked about yesterday, maybe 50% down, you're getting a real bottom. Like, it might be happening. Someone who definitely is not a fan of Elon Musk, Mr. Ross Gerber, believes that Tesla should have a new CEO. Here's what he said yesterday.
I think we all make choices with our time, and Elon doesn't get more than 24 hours a day just because he's Elon. So we make choices. All of us do. Do we spend time with our family? Do we go golfing? Do we work? And how we do this is, each individual chooses. And so Elon chooses to work, all the time, but you can only work so many hours a day. So it's 24, right? And he sleeps. So there's no question he's been committed to his job at the government. That's where he's spending his time. He is not running Tesla. And, that's why I'm going to say it. I think Tesla needs a new CEO. And I decided today I was going to start saying it. And so this is the first show that I'm saying it on. It's time for somebody to run Tesla. The business has been neglected for too long. There's too many important things Tesla is doing. So either Elon should come back to Tesla and be the CEO of Tesla and give up his other jobs, or he should focus on the government and keep doing what he's doing, but find a suitable CEO for Tesla.
So you are saying essentially if he's not prepared to quit that government job, he needs to go.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Okay, poll in the chat. Who agrees with Ross? Who agrees with Ross? I'm curious to see what you guys say. Who agrees with him? Ross hasn't talked about Tesla. By the way, I'm sorry for the echo. That wasn't me. That was the video on Twitter. That was the only clip I had of this, and so there's like a weird echo in the back of the clip. But Ross hasn't talked about Tesla in a while. I know Meet Kevin interviewed him last night. I didn't get to watch that interview, but yeah, he has been anti-vocal about Tesla for a while. I mean, I feel like it's been months since I heard from him about Tesla. And yesterday was the first day he came back to the media to speak about his issues with Tesla. And yeah, his issue is that Elon needs to be replaced. Again, my stance on this is I really think there's a key man risk to Tesla, and replacing Elon would just be a little tough to see the excitement of the business. But I also am sympathetic to the fact that a lot of investors would feel that Tesla is a good brand or a phenomenal brand. They're an amazing company. They can function without having all this political stuff attached to them. And FSD robotics that can all scale without Elon because they're so mature at this state. I would disagree with that, but I'm sympathetic to people that think that's possible. And that a new CEO would not be the craziest thing in the world. Granted, I don't think shareholders would ever vote for that. I mean, they overwhelmingly voted for his $55 billion compensation package back in last April. I think it would be very hard to convince the Tesla shareholder base to get rid of him via a vote. I think it would be 70-30. I think 30% would definitely say get rid of him, but the other 70% would say no. There's actually this clip that I think, can I pull this up right here? There's a clip I saw this morning. This is old Elon back in I think 2012. This is before he became super political. And this is one of those clips where he's just like super motivating. But it's when you listen to it, you remember how intense Elon is in regards to building companies and how much he cares about it and how seriously he takes it. And I think this is the Elon that got Tesla to where it is. And I still think this Elon is there. It's just, he has other priorities now that are also on his mind. Let me see if I can pull this up right here. There's a clip from 2012. I might have lost the clip, but essentially it was a clip where Elon was like, hey, if you need motivation to start a company, don't start a company. To start a company is basically like chewing glass and staring into the abyss. And, it was one of those motivating clips about Elon starting a company. I think that's the Elon a lot of people miss, but this is also the new reality of what Elon's life has taken him to. He just thinks of the world in a different way. Oh, I got the clip. All right, here it is. So this was the 2012 version of Elon.
I think it's very difficult to start companies and quite painful. I think that's important to bear in mind. I don't know if that's probably not encouraging. There's a friend of mine who's got a good phrase for doing a startup. It's like eating glass and staring into the abyss. If you go into it expecting it's going to be just fun, you will be disappointed. It's not. It's quite painful. It's much easier to get a job somewhere. Much easier, much less stressful. You'll have more time for other things.
But would you be happier?
It depends on who you are. Would I be happier?
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't be. I'd be unhappier. But it's really like if you're sort of wired to do it, then you should do it. But not otherwise. It's not going to optimize your leisure time or anything like that. It's going to be extremely difficult and stressful. So you must feel compelled to do it. Let me put it this way. If you need inspiring words, don't do it.
And would you recommend doing 2 at a time?
No, that's a terrible idea.
Again, it's the same Elon, but a different type of Elon in terms of how he thought purely just about business and startups. And again, that's when Tesla was valued at what, maybe 20 billion. Now Tesla's at 800. So it's a whole different world, a whole different company. And Elon is a whole different person to an extent based on how much he's been affected by the political issues of our time. So, look, you got some equity reports saying, hey, Tesla still has a price target of 450. You should be excited about what's going on. And then you have a lot of other analysts saying that Q1 is going to suck. And then maybe that's the time to get in. Eventually in April, we're going to see how this story plays out and ultimately how the market wants to decide the valuation of Tesla. We got 10 seconds left until this market opens Thursday, third trading week of March. We got a J Powell bounce yesterday. Let's see if we can get that momentum back. Ladies and gentlemen, the stock market is now open. Wake your ass up. Let's get into it. Tesla is down 1.4%. 1.4% on Tesla, 232.7 right now on Tesla, down 1.26%. Nvidia is down about 0.5%, 116.78. Robinhood down 1.23. Robinhood was at $44 overnight last night, getting some momentum from Bitcoin. That one is down about 2%. ARK Innovations down 1.25%. AT&T is up. Verizon is up. Of course, AT&T and Verizon go up. The rest of the market goes down. SoFi is down 1%. S&P 500 down 0.5%, almost more than 0.5%. That is giving back a decent chunk of the gains they got yesterday. Every day. It's gimme, it's gotcha every single day. So if we fall another 0.25%, we're basically down everything that we got yesterday. Archer is down about 2%. Amazon's down 2%. Google's down 2%. Rigetti's down 2.5%. D-Wave's down 2.5%. They were down 4% yesterday. IBIT is down 0.5%. ServiceNow's down 2%. Broadcom's down 2%. Silver is down 2%. Small caps somehow are holding above 200. You would think that those would get hit given some of the volatility, but they're holding up. Reddit is down 2%. Walmart's down 0.5%. All the airlines are down another 1%, along with the cruise lines. Delta's down 2%. Intuit's down 1%. Red Cat's up a little bit. JetBlue is down 2%. Zscaler's down 1%. Uber down 0.5%. Where is Palantir? That is down about 1%, 85.43 on Palantir. TLT should be up. That's correct. TLT given bond yields are down. TLT is up 92.18. So, I mean, it's kind of been safety, but again, for the past couple of days when the 10-year was at 4.3, it's not been safety. So I guess it's been a trade you've had to be patient with. I think at one point you could have got TLT like 84 back in August last year. So you have seen some capital appreciation since then, but TLT right here at 92. S&P down 0.5%, recovering a little bit of what it lost right at the open. Grab right below 470 at 468. That's down about 0.5%. Square down 0.5%. Bitcoin 85.2. Trump is going to be having a pre-recorded meeting for the Bitcoin summit at 10:40. So in about 70 minutes. So we'll see if we can get that. Wow, Nvidia goes green, huh? Nvidia goes green. Interesting. Nvidia actually going green, which is nice to see. It kind of is, in my opinion, a little cheap compared to some of these other stocks that are out here. But again, this green, it's just so random with it. Nvidia was at 124 on Monday, and then it just came right back down to 114 after GTC. Now, I do think GTC had a massive impact in terms of just looking at their product roadmap for the next 5 years. But the street doesn't care at this point. Five Below, they had decent earnings. They're up about 5%. Celsius is down 1%. Robinhood's down about 0.5%, recovering a little bit from being down 1.4. Tesla as well was down 2%. Now it's only down 0.5%. So we're getting some green candles on the path to maybe going green for the day. Meta's at 587. This was at 575 yesterday. Carnival Cruise at 2115. Next Decade is down 1%. Vertiv down 1.4. All the data center plays. Rocket Lab down 2.6. Apple's down 0.5%. Williams Sonoma is well below, or very close to being below, the $20.5 billion S&P 500 requirement. That one's down 1%. And then HIMS is down 0.5% as well. The Q's 478. 478 on the Q's. Palantir goes green. Wow. Palantir goes green. Look at that. Or basically green. 86.12. Dude, again, I say it every day, but I'll say it again. Palantir holding above 80 is just incredible. Like, given where the market is at, given all the uncertainty and given the volatility and given the multiple of Palantir, the fact that I would just say more people are holding versus selling, and that's what's leading it to stay at these levels. Because if it was based on pure algorithms and not like a shareholder base that was actually holding the stock, I feel like this thing would be manipulated down by now. But you got people that are just like, nope, I'm not selling. And I know the float is big, but if you got a lot of people still holding on to the stock, it's hard to just easily imagine it necessarily needs to collapse. So this one is holding on. This one is holding on really nicely. Amit, read the news. EU delayed tariffs. Did they? Did the EU delay tariffs? Let me see. EU tariffs. Let's see if there's anything there. EU said the European Commissioner is considering delaying the first set of counter tariffs against the U.S. to mid-April. Huh. Oh, wow. Yeah, that just came out. EU says delaying tariffs on U.S. goods by 2 weeks to mid-April to give more time for dialogue. See, this kind of goes to my theory. They want more time to talk, and they want more time to talk because they probably don't want to tariff the crap out of each other. They want to get to a deal. S&P getting a lot more green candles right here. So that's encouraging. That's very encouraging that the EU is delaying some of their tariffs as well. Probably they're communicating with Lutnick's employees and trying to figure out how they can come to a conclusion. Like, I really, really, really don't think there's going to be some massive trade war on April 2nd. And I think even if Trump's tweeting about it, he's hyping it up just because he wants people to get excited and then come in as like the savior that stopped all the tariffs. Like, that's what he usually tends to do. So I don't think it's going to be that aggressive. We did have some earnings today. Pinduoduo had earnings. This is a company in China, if I'm not wrong. They are not reacting, down about 0.5%. FXI is down 2.6%. I'll get their numbers on earnings in a second. Also, we had Accenture that had earnings. They are down 8%. Okay, so Accenture got hit. Definitely would like to see Accenture's generative AI revenues, because those have been growing very, really nicely. And they don't even really necessarily only sell software. They sell consulting services on Gen AI. But they are down about 8%. Oh yeah, Pinduoduo is Temu. Pinduoduo is Temu. That's correct. Yo, has anyone ever bought anything from Temu? I bought something from Temu like I think 2022, and then I never used it again. But did anyone here actively shop on Temu? I think my sister bought something on Temu a couple months ago as well. but I don't use Temu consistently. Let me see that's ranking on the App Store. Temu on the United States iOS App Store is number 1 in shopping, dude. Holy crap. Number 2 is Shein. Number 6 and 7 are Amazon and Walmart. Temu and Shein are beating Amazon and Walmart in the United States. That's wild, bro. That's a lot of Chinese deliveries. Pound to right here, 86.25. And you know, see, this is what Trump doesn't like. There's a loophole that if China, if you ship something under $800 in China, the imports don't have any, or sorry, the exports from China to the US, if it's under $800, don't have any tariffs on it, or don't have any import taxes on it, or sorry, export taxes. So those are loopholes that have been around for a long time, and it's allowed Shein and Temu to avoid a ton of different costs. And those are types of loopholes that Trump wants to get rid of as well. But it's going to be a question of if they can get the Chinese government to agree with those things. Nvidia right here, 118. Nvidia is up about 1% right now, which is nice. Nvidia getting some momentum here. Elon buys critical Tesla parts on Temu. Oh my gosh. Micron earnings after the bell. That is correct. That's going to be important. We do have a couple earnings after the bell. We have Micron, and then we have Nike and FedEx and Lennar. That's a home builder. So we have 4 big companies today, and then we have money market funds. That's going to be really important as well. Is Micron pumping right now? Nvidia is about to go to 119. Micron is at 104. That's up 2%. This one was really exciting back in the summer, and then they got hit badly after Q3 2024, or Q2 2024. They fell from like 150 back to 80, and they haven't really been able to get momentum. And they're growing 80%. It's not like their memory storage business is not growing. It's just if the market's not giving Nvidia love, they're probably not going to give Micron any love. Accenture right here now down almost 10%. Let me see if we can get their numbers. And if they said anything. Okay, so CEO on Accenture said, our second quarter results demonstrate that we continue to deliver on a strategy to lead reinvention in our new clients and have strong growth. The trust and confidence in our unique strengths and capabilities are reflected in 32 clients with quarterly bookings greater than 100 million. Generative AI had 1.4 billion in new bookings for Q1 of 2025. Our continued growth is made possible by extraordinary work over more than 800,000 people. However, they decreased year over year in new bookings of 3%. So new bookings was 20.9 billion, basically new sales for Accenture. That's down 3%, even though generative AI sales came in at 1.4 billion. Revenue was up about 5% at 16.7 billion. So I guess the street didn't like the decrease in overall bookings. That's why this thing is down 10% currently on the day. S&P 500 getting close to potentially being green on the day. It was down 1%. Now it's only down 0.45. Palantir still green. Where's Robinhood? Robinhood goes green. There you go. 42.97 on hoodie. And then Dell is green. SMCI is green. AMD, wow, 106. AMD getting above that 105 level after what seems like a couple weeks. Tesla right here, 234, also looks like it might be going green. And then Nvidia trying to make its way to 120. There's a little bit of a weird open because you got most stuff that's red, including the indices, but you have individual stocks that are catching a bid. And maybe the indices will follow later in the day. Amit, are you covering the Nvidia Quantum Day? So I'm not going to be streaming that. I don't even know if they are streaming it. We'll definitely cover it on the close, and we'll get some more information on that. But if today is the panel, then yeah, we'll get some coverage on what that panel is going to be like. I think this is when all the quantum CEOs are going to be on stage discussing quantum. And so this also will be important to kind of see what Jensen says about it. I don't have a stance on Quantum Day, dude. I have not done the research on quantum. I don't know anything about it. I know a lot of you guys are bullish on it. Some of you guys think it's like a pipe dream. I have no idea. I really don't. I just think with Nvidia trading at these levels, I don't get excited about the quantum stocks because I'd just rather buy Nvidia. And hopefully Nvidia can, like, I don't think the quantum stocks are going to take down Nvidia. If anything, I hope they'll be conducive with them. But I just haven't done enough research to get super excited about them. At least not at this point. SoFi was at 13 yesterday. Then SoFi got hit 1267 right here. At least it's up from the 1150 levels that it was at. I still have my spreads on SoFi. If it gets to 20, We can get those spreads to be worth about 50K after putting in 3,000 in them, 3,500 when it was 7. But we got to get to 20 by January 2026, which I feel like, I feel like that's possible. It felt very possible a couple months ago. Nothing has really changed with SoFi. Like literally nothing has changed with any of these companies. They didn't have any bad guidance, nothing. It's all been the tariff stuff. So if that is resolved eventually, maybe we go forward. So if I slightly trying to go green right here, HUD again, slightly trying to go green. We talked about XRP yesterday. They had the court case dropped, which was good. Steve was on the show yesterday on the close, and he talked about it as well. XRP was about 9% from that court case news. Let me see if Trump posted anything. Let's see if we have any new tweets. Again, we did have a tariff tweet yesterday by Trump. Okay, so he posted this. Nvidia is going to be spending $100 billion or hundreds of billions in the U.S. during Trump's term. Let's play the clip from Jensen basically talking about this yesterday. This was the extended interview with Kramer yesterday. Jensen basically says we need to, from a national security perspective, care more about the U.S. in terms of manufacturing our own chips, and they will be investing a ton of money to make that happen.
We are trying to figure out whether AI will always be derivative. When I put in a question, in the end, it scrapes everything, but it scrapes everything. I want new. I want something original and not derivative. Will they be able to put it all together and actually suggest that this would be a better way to look at it?
It turns out that all of that foundation knowledge is just foundation knowledge. What we really want the AI to do is to learn how to solve problems, learn how to reason, apply rules, apply knowledge, break a problem down one by one, step by step, and solve problems. That's intelligence. But you can't teach an AI that skill of solving problems. You can't teach AI reasoning without first having a foundation knowledge of what are numbers, how do words work together, what's vocabulary, what's syntax, what's grammar, so that it could learn some basic knowledge. However it comes about, whether it's a strategic reserve, but the country needs to invest in an AI infrastructure.
Now, when we talk about this, we almost immediately talk about the Chinese and almost a Sputnik-like race in 1957. Are we being too small-minded, and we shouldn't be thinking about the amount of business you do with China? Maybe that things are much further along than that mentally. Are we constraining ourselves with these discussions about politics and tariffs? Are these too small?
I think it's safe to say that we can't hold any country back or anyone back in advancing and developing intelligence. And surely AI is just digital intelligence.
Okay.
And so I think everyone is going to develop it. If everyone's going to be developing it, let's make sure that they develop it on American technology, American architecture, and the American standards.
So Jensen kind of making this argument that we need an American chip stack as well. And that is why you have this headline this morning that Nvidia will be investing hundreds of billions in chips in the US.
And so that's what I would advocate. And then secondarily, I would say, let's make sure that we are creating the conditions and investing in a way that allows our country to be far, far, far ahead. And so everything that we can do to speed up our advancement, everything we could do to speed up education here, startups here, economic development here using artificial intelligence, we absolutely should.
No, but
so that was his point, and that's the headline going around this morning about Nvidia investing in chips. Now, what does it mean for Nvidia to really invest in chips? SoFi right here up about 1%, Nvidia up 1.2%. I think it means them investing in companies that are building more fabs in the United States. And the most obvious one that comes to mind when we think of this is good old Intel. And there have been many rumors, Intel right here at 2420, about Intel, Nvidia, TSMC partnering together to help build more fabs, make them more efficient, etc. I don't know if Intel's new CEO wants to go down that route, but that would be a bit of a more obvious play for Nvidia to take seriously. It would be kind of crazy if Nvidia actually ends up straight up buying Intel. I mean, they have the money and the cash to do it. They would have to probably put up 120 to 130 billion, and they could probably do that with cash and stock. They would be adding about $60-70 billion of revenue per year to their top line if they were to get them, but doesn't seem like the new CEO would easily sell, and it's probably not why they brought him in this case. Nvidia invested in a data synthetic company. That's correct. I believe they bought them out, by the way, from my understanding. After I read into it last night, it looks like they bought out the entire company for over $1 billion, but they bought out Greta AI, synthetic data company that helps with creating data to train synthetically different models. And in this case, we know NVIDIA's Cosmos platform needs more and more of that infrastructure to help OEMs like GM, to help different robot companies that are trying to compete with Tesla and Optimus. And it looks like synthetic data is going to be very important. I am still torn on if synthetic data is going to create that much of a competitive advantage against proprietary data, or if synthetic data will allow the commoditization of proprietary data. Like if you have synthetic data on the NVIDIA Cosmos platform of a stop sign, is it that much more different than a Tesla FSD real data of millions of stop signs? Because if it is relatively the same, NVIDIA should be able to come up with the training data sets that a lot of these companies have without actually having to get the billions of miles on the road that Tesla cars drive. And that would be interesting, because that goes to RBC's point that FSD might start becoming a little bit more standard in cars, which makes it not that appealing for a Tesla unique differentiator. But it's yet to be known if that synthetic data is actually going to play out the way that NVIDIA thinks it can play out. Because again, NVIDIA doesn't care if Tesla wins. NVIDIA just wants self-driving to be a thing so that everyone can pay them to help them train their OEMs. But they're not that just concerned with Tesla winning the whole race. Micron right here is up 1.5. Robinhood slightly down. Tesla 233. S&P 565. Is anyone buying Tesla here at 233? Are we getting some buys at all, just based off pure sentiment being so bad that people are taking a little bit of a nibble at Tessie? Or is everyone waiting? By the way, we just got a headline. Apple TV has lost $1 billion this year. The information is reporting Apple's only unprofitable subscription service, Apple TV, is reportedly losing over $1 billion annually, despite growing to 45 million subscribers. You know, I've never really watched Apple TV, but it makes sense because content is a hard business. You got to pay a lot of money to get there. I'm seeing more no's than yeses on people buying Tesla here. So it looks like people are waiting. Looks like people are waiting. Christina says, I've been nibbling for a month now, so we have some nibbles. CSPs on TSLL. TSLL is interesting, dude, because it's just a question of, do you think Tesla's bottom? If you think Tesla's bottomed here, then like TSLL and attaching that XX leverage is not a horrible idea. But if it hasn't bottomed, this thing is probably going to $3-4. And if it's flat, the question is, will the ETF itself just erode in terms of its value and not really get any upside? But if you think it's bottom and you sell puts at 3-4, I mean, yeah, the premiums are going to be great. It's just a question of if this thing is actually bottom. Yeah, a lot of you guys are saying you're waiting below 200. Austin says, I'm not buying, but Waltz taking pleasure in the stock seems like a bottom signal. Dude, again, it would be crazy if Tim Waltz called the bottom on Tesla. We'll see. Yesterday was a good day. But again, all these days that are good, they're followed by crappy days. And this is the nature of this market. This is like, it's a totally different experience from the past 2 years. And every day you just get swing sawed into a different direction. What was fun about 2024 is every day you felt more rich. Like every single day. So like you would look at the market every morning, you'd be like, oh, I'm more rich than I was yesterday. And then you go on about your day. And it's not even like you had to sell stock or had to like buy anything expensive. There was just a feeling that you were more rich. And life's just more fun throughout the day when you feel more rich. Like you're just walking around, you're like, I'm more rich than I was yet. It's like you feel like you're making progress every day in terms of your net worth. That was what 2024 gave us. It was pure bliss. And then 2025, for like a week and a half, we felt more rich. And then for a good 1 week in February, we all felt dirt poor as everything fell 30%. And then it stabilizes. And then one day you feel rich, one day you feel poor. One day you feel it's like now it's just choppy every single day. And people are just trying to find more money to pummel into the markets. But then as soon as you pummel it into the markets, you realize it's not doing what it was supposed to do, which was go up, which is the problem. I was eating ramen in February. Oh my gosh. Scott says, ain't that the truth? I felt like a baller 2 months ago. Dude, but it's true, right? Because also it's almost like in 2024, every single day as we saw stocks go up, it was one of those things where it's like, you're kind of not doing anything to get more rich, right? Like usually to get rich, you have to like build a business, build a company, yada, yada. You have to really work hard. In this case, all you have to do is sit back and look at numbers go up. And it almost was like, it's like a game. It's like, oh, wow, I put money here and the money just goes up. There's more money than there was before. And it's like, it was this sense of like, damn, like all I had to do was do this one thing and now I'm here. And then the reality comes at you a year later, which is just like, hey, that's not how the market works. And I think all of us knew that. To our credit, all of us knew that at the end of the year. Like when everyone was sharing their year-to-date returns and it was many of you at triple digits, it's like all of us were like, well, we know this is not sustainable. But it still sucks to go through the pain of realizing it's actually not sustainable. But I think we all expected it. But in January, February, before the 30% decline, it felt like it was sustainable. I mean, Palantir at 125, Robin at 65. It kind of felt like, well, yeah, maybe it is sustainable. Maybe this party keeps going. And then tariffs, and the party stops. Nonetheless, I think it's the general part of a 3-year bull cycle, and that's kind of where we're at right now. Palantir, though, still holding on to its green. Amazon 196, Archer is down. I don't own Archer for those that are asking, so I did interview the CEO, but I don't own the stock yet. It's still just a bit speculative to me. Although I like the company, I like the CEO. Just in this market, I'm not willing to take the risk on Archer, but like long term, do I think they have a shot to pull it off? Yeah. But you know, their airplanes are still not really flying yet, right? Or they're not called airplanes, but you get their jets, whatever you call them. Like they're not actually out there in the world. And so you're really betting on potential on Archer. And there's a lot of it, but it's not fully real yet. And so at this point, I'd just rather buy more Nvidia. But again, if you believe in the entire industry, Joby, Archer, then that's where I understand getting excited about the name right now. What Amit is talking about is what Chamath said about the burn of the stock market on the last podcast. Yeah, it's true. I mean, Chamath had a really good take on there, dude. Chamath was basically like, on the green days, it's great. But how you treat people on the red days, how you engage with your family, how you navigate your emotions, all that stuff. I mean, it truly is an important life lesson. And he said at some points, it feels like the bottom is falling out. And, you know, Chamath's dealing with billions of dollars. A lot of you guys in the chat are probably dealing with millions of dollars. Many of us dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars. It feels the same, whether it's 10,000, 100,000, a million, or 100 million. Like it feels the same when it just collapses in front of you, because you're just like, holy crap, like this just disappeared. And having the emotions to navigate, knowing that Google is a good company, it's going to come back, or that, hey, maybe I should take a deeper look at a Meta below 600. Like just having the emotions to navigate that is tough. And I feel like it takes a lifetime to build if you're, you know, going to be managing your money forever. Warren, thank you for the super chat. The market in 2025 is a waiting games. 2024 markets was Christmas every day. Yeah, basically. It's literally, I mean, that's what Steve said. Yes, it might just be an accumulation year, right? It might just be an accumulation year. Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's thousands or hundreds of thousands, bro. It feels the same. Like I remember, I think my portfolio was worth like 20,000, 22,000 back in 2020, and it was it was the same, bro. Like it just like once it goes to shit and it falls to like 10,000, 8,000, you're like, oh, that 12,000 I had is gone, and it's just, it feels like shit. But again, I just feel like, I keep saying this. If you're in the markets and you're dealing with the pressure of managing your own capital, it is such a courageous thing to do, because you've already decided that you are going to try to compound your wealth in a way that takes your destiny in your own hands. And to do that, you will have to go through a lot of shit. But through all that shit, you will learn so many lessons. And no one's even going to teach you those. Like you're going to learn it yourself when you go through the crappy times. And it is just going to put you in a different ball game in terms of how you think about money, financial relationships, the ecosystem for compounding your wealth over time. Because most Americans, most people on the planet just don't do it. They're just too scared to even take the chance. So once you get over and you get desensitized to some of the red days, I don't know, you just you really start to realize how beneficial it is to just be in the markets at the end of the day. Scott says losing 2,000 2 years ago feels like the same as losing 10,000 today. We're making progress. Yeah. I mean, like, people are losing the amount of money in a day that their entire portfolios were worth years ago, right? I think Joseph Carlson did a good post on this yesterday. Like, I think he said he was down 20,000 yesterday, and 5 years ago his portfolio was only worth 20,000. So, like, it's a weird flex, but it is a flex to even be in that situation. What else do we have? Do we have any headlines here? I don't think we have any. It's kind of a quiet morning. Robinhood is down a little bit. Tesla's down 0.5%. Nvidia 118. Let's see if we have anything. No, the last tweet Trump had was really just about this April 2nd being liberation thing on cutting rates. Oh yeah, Cybertruck recall. We did have that piece of news. So Cybertruck, 46,000 Cybertrucks were recalled. Whenever there's a recall, though, I don't think that the cars are literally coming back in. It usually has to do with software, from my understanding. But yeah, there was a Cybertruck thing. There is this rumor going on around a Tesla accounting fraud of 1.4 billion. I haven't validated that yet. The Financial Times was talking about it this morning, so I have to look into that. But that is one thing that is going on, that there might be some type of accounting fraud the Financial Times is talking about when it comes to Tesla. The headline for the Cybertrucks was 46,000 Cybertrucks, but it was a software update. It wasn't a literal car has to come back to the factory type of thing. Those are the two headlines in the context of Tesla right now. Benny says, I've become so desensitized to losing 20,000 a week. I don't know if it's normal, to be honest. Yeah, it makes you wonder if it's normal, right? Like when you're down 6 figures in a day or 7 figures in a day for some of you, right? You wonder, is this normal to just lose that money? But I think the counter argument to that is that it's not normal to be up 6 or 7 figures in a day. Like that's not a normal thing for someone to just be up 100 grand in a day. But that's the nature of the equity markets, right? They go up, they go down, and the bigger the number, the bigger the swings. Hedge funds are up billions a day. They're down billions a day, and they have to hedge and manage all that risk. So for individual portfolios, it can follow the same trajectory, just on a smaller scale. Even though that scale could still be gigantic to everybody else. What do you think about the gold bar giveaway on Hood? I like it. They're doing their next drop tomorrow, so we'll get their final gold offering tomorrow. They're doing the 2% account transfer, the 1,000 gold bar giveaway, and then the third mystery drop will be revealed tomorrow. And we're going to see what's the final thing they do for Gold Month. Again, I'll be there next week at the event. Hopefully, it'll be pretty cool. I think they're going to announce a lot of new products. I think people will be excited. And I think some of the products are going to be in banking too. I think they're going to be some banking products. So similar to the 3% credit card stuff. If they can really do something that gets you to like want to deposit your money into Hood, that can be very, very beneficial for them long term. Hoodie green. Okay, did the S&P just go green? Robinhood 43. S&P is very close to going green. Very close to going green. Oh, this one was actually the trim detaching on the vehicle. Okay, so this one's not a software for Cybertrucks. This is like an actual physical issue with Cybertrucks. All right. Well, even with that news, Tesla is about to go green. So that one not really hurting them too much, at least right now. Oh, we got existing home sales, 10 a.m. That is correct. 4.26 million versus 3.95. Wow. That's a hell of a beat. Hold on. That's not a bad beat. 4.26 versus 3.95 doesn't seem horrible for existing home sales. Let me pull up those numbers. Again, the housing market is a very interesting spot that we're in right now. 4.2%. The street thought we would have negative 0.7%. And the street thought we would only have 3.95 million homes. We ended up selling 4.26. NASDAQ just went green as well. Maybe this homes data also was partly a reason for why. Wow. Dude, the street thought we would come in at basically negative 1% for the month. We came in at plus 4.2. That's good. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Okay, so our market's pumping as well. Hoodie's up. Tessie's about to be up. Nvidia's up. SoFi's up. Intel's up. S&P. All right, so we're getting the opposite of a 10 a.m. slam. The question is there any juice to this to sustain itself? Pounter up almost 1%. TLT is still up 1%. Where's the 10-year? 10-year is kind of up 4.2. It's up from where it was in the pre-markets, but it's still down for the day. VG, is VG up right now? VG is up another 3%. Robinhood 43.13. The cruise lines are about to be green. Are they? Carnival is, yeah, it's green, up 2%. Dude, we live for these green candles off of a reversal from the red. Like, this is what we live for. This is literally what we live for. We live for seeing this red turn into green. That is what makes us happy, bro. Literally for the rest of our lives, now that we're all like obsessed with the markets, I don't think we're ever gonna not be obsessed with the markets, right? Like till literally till you die. Like, how can you? It's like you can't go back, right? Once you learn about markets. And so think about it. For the rest of your life, you will wake up in the morning and hope to see 4 to 5 letter tickers be green over red. Like, I wonder what it's going to be like the day I die. I wonder if I'm going to be like looking at Robinhood. Like, I wonder how it's going to happen. Like, I legit wonder, like, where is it going to be? And am I going to be trying to see what the portfolio is worth at the end? Imagine dying on a call option, bro. imagine like swiping up and you're like, all right, I hope, and like, you might as well do like, imagine you nuke your portfolio on SPY 0 DTE contracts minutes before you die. And then you just hope when you get to heaven that like you see that it worked out. That'd be wild, bro. It'd be absolutely wild. You can't take it with you. That's correct. But it's not even about the money when you're in the markets anymore, bro. Like I feel like money is second. Like, look, to be honest, bro, and I'm saying this genuinely, bro. This is the most genuine thing. I don't care if I make a single penny off of Grab. I just want to be right. Like, at this point, I don't this is one that I've done so much research on, and I have a thesis for the next 2 years. I just want to be right. Can I be right on this thing doubling in the next 2 years? Will I make a lot of money if that happens? Yes, but it's like less about the money, more so about my ego wants to be right on the fact that I researched this company, I had a thesis, I made a bet on it, and I ended up being correct. Like, the high of being right on a stock feels so much better than the money you make off of it. Because you just feel like you're like, all right, it's like, I can do a little bit of due diligence. Like, everyone just feels a little bit better when they can, especially when it's a name that not a lot of people are talking about. So it's one of those things when you die, bro. It's like you just want to be right at the end of it, even if you can't take the money. Chris says, got to teach my wife on how to sell these spreads. If anything happens to me amid caller and guider, I will definitely let her know how to sell these spreads. Dude, that is great. Like, I'm gonna have to tell my kids or my grandkids at the time how to exit these positions. Derek has actually brought this up to me because Derek has a lot of different assets, right? And he was just mentioning, he was just like, dude, my kids don't like care that much about the stock market, but you do. So he was like, in my will, I'm gonna make sure that like people know how to like exit the calls, because he's like, because like Derek's 55 and he trades calls and puts all the times, right? He's like, he loves this shit, and so he's like, I'm probably gonna be doing this till it's all over. But someone's going to need to close these options. He's like, my kids are not going to know how to close them. He's like, they're not going to care. So someone's going to have to call up my estate and tell them they have to close these Tesla $7,000 calls that I'm going to have in 20 years. But yeah, it's about the feeling of being right, dude. It's about the feeling. They can't travel where there's no internet, correct, dude. That's what I'm saying. Like going on a vacation. If you go on a vacation and I can't see my stocks, bro, just like I don't even know what I would do if I can't see my stocks on a vacation. But that's not even being obsessed with like the internet. That's just like, that's your net worth, right? You want to make sure like you can at least like keep an eye on it, even if it's not literally looking at every candlestick. You at least care about seeing what's happening. Reddit right here at 110, that's up 0.42%. The green seems to be from these home sales. Let's see if we can get some coverage on that. Yeah, here we go. Let's see what this looks like.
Yes, leading economic indicators for the month of February expected down a couple of tenths of a percent, coming down 0.3%. That would have been back-to-back -0.3, but we had a bit of a revision. -0.3 for January moves up to -0.2. -0.3 equals where we were in October of last year. To find a bigger negative month-over-month change, you're going to September of last year. Here's an interesting factoid. If you look at November, December of last year, those were back-to-back positive numbers in a sea of negative. And it was the first time since December and November of 21 that we had back-to-back positives. Leading economic indicators have been really negative for years. Now, we also have existing home sales. And for that, we're going to head east to Diana Olick. Diana?
Well, Rick, existing home sales in February rose 4.2% month to month to a seasonally adjusted annualized rate of 4.26 million units. That's a beat. The street was looking for a 3% decline. Sales were still 1.2% lower than February of last year. Now, this count is based on closings, so it's contracts signed in late December and January. That was actually when mortgage rates were rising and went into the 7% range. Inventory, though, at the end of February was 1.24 million units, up 17% year over year. Still, though, just a 3.5-month supply. 6 months is considered balance between buyer and seller. That tight supply is pressuring prices. The median price of a home sold in February, $398,400. That's up 3.8% year over year. And it is another record high price for the month of February. All 4 regions of the country saw price increases. First-time buyers edged back into the market, 31% of sales, up from 26% last February. Investors, though, are pulling back, just 16% of sales, down from 21% a year ago. Now, again, these sales are not indicative of what's happening now. I do have a separate survey from John Burns Real Estate, which asked agents in February about traffic, and more than half said the spring market is weaker than normal. This resale index dropped for the first time in 4 months. And Sarah, I'll tell you, even Lawrence Yun, the chief economist for the realtors, kept saying over and over again how surprised he was by this February gain. He noted that January's pending sales, which are signed contracts, was the lowest on record. So that would be surprising. All right, Diana, thank you very much.
Interesting. So we beat on some metrics when it comes to home sales, missed on a couple. The Celtics just sold for $6.1 billion. What? Really? The Celtics just got sold? Did that just happen just now as we were talking? Hold on. Who bought the Celtics? Wasn't Bezos trying to buy the Celtics? Did they? Holy crap. Yeah, they got sold. I don't know if anyone knows who this guy is. Bill, what is this guy's name? Bill Chisholm, managing partner at Symphony Technology Group, has agreed to purchase the Celtics for $6.1 billion. Does anyone know Symphony Technology Group? I feel like I've heard of them before, but I don't recall them that easily. Wow. Celtics, $6.1 billion. Instead of getting IPOs, we're getting the Celtics getting sold in this market. The fact that they even were willing to sell just means that they felt market conditions were better than usual for them to get a premium. Huh. They're based in Menlo, California. Okay, well, so the Celtics get sold. In the context of home sales, what's really interesting, again, is that investor purchases went down 16% versus 21%. First-time home buyers is up from 21% to 34%. So we keep hearing this argument that people are like people don't want to buy homes because mortgage rates are high. But even with home prices being up almost 30% from 2020, you've got people on the sidelines that have cash. And maybe that cash is from selling their stocks. But there are plenty of people that are ready to purchase a home if they even kind of get a mortgage rate that would be better than what they were getting a couple months ago. A couple months ago, it was almost 8%. It was at 7.9. Right now, we're at 6.65 as of last week's data, which is good. If that thing gets down to 6%, which means the 10-year would get down to closer to 4%, maybe 3.9, and dare I say below 6% on the mortgage rates, I really do think there would be a lot of people getting excited to buy a house. $6 billion is Archer's market cap. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. That's crazy. The Celtics are a storied franchise, though. The Celtics are one of the, like the Celtics, the Knicks, the Lakers, the Warriors. These are like the teams that should be worth many multiple billions. The Celtics also won a championship last year, right? But that is a pretty hefty price of $6 billion. Robinhood right here, 43.42. Tesla finally goes green. Tessie, 236 on the day. Nvidia, 118.47 here right now. Are we all of the same belief? So I asked this question a long time ago. I think that I asked this question like a year ago. Let me ask this question again in the chat. This is an old question, but do you think that Tesla and Palantir will be the greatest two-stock portfolio of all time? Yes or no? And the reason I'm asking this is because it's funny, right? Tesla and Palantir, they seem to be some of the most innovative companies that we have on the planet. There is still a belief by a lot of people that over the next 20 years, these two stocks independently, 50-50 in your portfolio, outperforms everything. Now, the pushback I get against this is if you have MicroStrategy and Bitcoin goes nuclear, that's going to be the stock that actually takes the portfolio to like being the best ever. S&P 500, 568, just went green again. Palantir, 86.60. But you never know, bro. What if it really is Tesla and Palantir that ends up being like the best portfolio? No, Tesla and Nvidia. I don't blame anyone for throwing Nvidia in there. Like you can't kind of go. I saw someone. When I asked this question on Twitter a couple months ago, someone said Nvidia and MicroStrategy would be the greatest two-stock duo, and that's just kind of a bet on Bitcoin. Throw in Robinhood. I think Robinhood is going to do very well. I don't know if it's literally going to be the best performing. I don't know if it could be inside of a two-stock duo that could be the best performing of all time. It's because it's just their TAM, right? Their TAM is massive. It's big. But then I look at Palantir and Tesla's TAM or Nvidia's TAM, and it's like, it's gigantic, you know? It's like Robinhood's TAM is probably, I don't know, 700-800 billion. Tesla, Palantir, Nvidia's TAM is many, many, many trillions. Because financial services is big, but at the end of the day, it's financial services. When we talk about robotics, self-driving, AI, enterprise SaaS, like those markets are just so gigantic. It feels like they have a bit bigger opportunity to go after. Amazon as well. The problem with Amazon, and I love their moat also, it's just for them to be in the best two-stock portfolio of all time, their stock has to appreciate that much, and their TAM and their moat is amazing, but I feel like the margins are always what gets the stock, or what always will make the stock not be able to appreciate at those high levels. Whereas a Tesla should have crazy margins on FSD, should have crazy margins on robotics. Like all of this comes down to a margin story, right? Because you can bring in a ton of revenue, but then how much comes to the bottom line, which determines the multiple people pay on the earnings. Hims and Grinder. Oh my gosh. Dude, Grinder's been doing well. Grinder's been holding up. 17, baby. Bought it at 14. We're still up. It's at 17. Palantir, 86.50. Archer's at 837. Rick, we haven't looked at this one in a long time. This is the owner of many adult clubs in America. I think, are they down for the year? If they are, that pretty much tells us what's going on in the markets. Rick is, wow, Rick is down 20% for the, I mean, no one's throwing money at strippers anymore. There you go. Down 20%. This is Steve's stock, by the way. I still remember the day he told me about the stock. He was like, I have a new stock you should talk about on the show. I was like, what? What's this? That is going to be like some tech stock or whatever. He's like, Rick. It's like, what? It's like adult strip clubs in America. I was like, what? There's a stock for adult strip? Like, what? It's like, yep. And it was hilarious the next day when I talked about it. It's the unofficial economic indicator on what's going on. Tesla 237. That's up 0.5%. What's Hood TAM if they go international? Well, they put in their investor slide deck 600 billion is their TAM, and I think they were factoring in some of the international opportunity. If they're not, I would say, yeah, you can get to the trillions in terms of their TAM. But they don't need to have a trillion dollar TAM. They just need to be the best in their niche, and so far they continue to prove they are very much the best over everyone else. It's just tough taking away deposits from JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, but again, they keep proving they know how to get money from those brokerages into Robinhood, and if they're going to win. We do have a Robinhood update right here. So we've been talking a lot about their sports elections contracts product. We have someone from the Robinhood futures team that went on CNBC today. Let's see what they had to say about this whole betting product.
Whole has just been growing in interest, just globally, but also here in the United States. And what we did see an increased cross-section of our clients interested in participating in and involved in sports. And when you have that intersection come together, we as Robinhood want to bring our capabilities, our app, our trading venues to where clients are going. And that's exactly what we're doing with these sports prediction markets.
Did you not want to intro that soundbite?
Oh, I hope our CNBC president, Casey Sullivan, was listening to that soundbite, because what he just said was the entire premise for the launch of the CNBC Sport
By
vertical.
the way, you're Alex Sherman. I was supposed to intro you.
Yeah.
You are a sports bet. I
only are the owners of so many of these sports teams, finance people in their day jobs, but also from an investment standpoint, you're seeing so much crossover between interest in traditional financial products and sports betting. And what Robinhood has announced here, and in partnership with Kalshi, which is this predictions market, is not standard sports betting, but it's derivative of that. It's sort of a one-off, which is this idea of these prediction markets where there is a buyer and a seller. So it is a two-way trade. There's no house, there's no sports book, but it is a new way to bet on March Madness, which kicks off today. And so now you're betting on, will Duke win this game? Yes or no? And there are buyers and sellers, and there's a probability involved. And, the trade goes up or down, and you can sell out before the game ends. And this is sort of the next iteration, I would say, of sports betting.
How did the odds are unbelievable, and the spreads that they get are unbelievable. They're down to I lost the game by a half point again last night after I won a three-way parlay. I would have won. There already must be some of this already in the way that they come up with the odds.
Well, what's interesting is, so they don't need to. Robinhood does not need to come up with the odds, because the market comes up with the odds in this. But
the market comes up with the odds.
Right. Well, how do they do that?
Do it too.
Correct. And so I'm sure they use data from traditional sports books in order to come up with that. Absolutely, as well as everything else in the world. But what's interesting to me is that sports betting is only legal in certain states, but this is a CFTC regulated product, which means it's a federal, national product. So this is legal everywhere on Robinhood.
Which is crazy. There were some people saying yesterday that Robinhood is going to get hit with a ton of lawsuits because they're kind of skirting the regulations. Maybe, maybe not. But if they get away with this, they basically legalize sports betting across the country.
So that is an interesting wrinkle here, where if you do live in a state where you haven't been able to bet legally online, you can now go to Robinhood or a predictions market and kind of get in on the action in this new way. Again, it's not quite the same thing as sports betting, but it's close.
The volatility seems like it would be greater if you're betting this way.
All right, we got Dan Ives on CNBC. Let's pull up to him, see what he's saying, and then we will keep going from there. But yeah, I mean, there is some concerns about that. Do they deal with lawsuits if these derivative future contracts are not necessarily gambling, but they are gambling? But I guess we'll find out how that plays out.
Image of a Molotov cocktail includes personal information about them, such as residential addresses, raising fears that activists opposed to Elon Musk could target them for vandalism. Musk condemning the website in a post on X, saying, quote, encouraging destruction of the Teslas throughout the country is extreme domestic terrorism. Our next guest out with a new note outlining the two things he says Musk needs to do to change the narrative. Wedbush's Dan Ives here at Post 9 to discuss. He's got a buy rating on Tesla, $550 price target. Is one of them leave the Department of Government Efficiency to come back and focus on Tesla?
I mean, look, I believe, a few weeks ago, it felt contained from all of our survey work, and we talked about it on the show. I think it's turned into what I'll call a brand crisis, and really a brand crisis tornado. And I think for Musk, he needs to balance this in terms of being Tesla's CEO and Doge. And I believe taking a step back from Doge is crucial to the name. And some will argue, we've been through it before, and I've been there from the beginning. I do believe the future of Tesla will really be determined how Musk handles the coming months. And I think that's why it's that much of a white knuckle moment. The longer term continues to be a golden sort of strategy. Near-termization.
So is the concern for you that the longer he remains at Doge, the more controversial Tesla as a brand is going to be, or is it a focus thing?
I think Tesla's become a political symbol, and that's a bad thing for any brand. And more and more, as you see, whether it's on the White House lawn or as we see more and more from DC, that's a bad thing for Tesla, because it comes down to Tesla shareholders. They own Tesla, and it's the reason we're bullish, because of autonomous, disruptive tech, what I believe is, along with Nvidia, one of the best disruptive technology companies over the next decade. But it's a crisis moment. And I think, when we wrote the note, it's really urging Musk, urging the board.
I'm not going to listen to you.
Look,
I sat across from him now. It's a long time ago. It was, you could argue, a different Musk back in 2023, May. But he said then, and I would assume he'd say the same thing to you now. I don't care, Dan. I'm going to say what I want to say and do what I want to do.
Yeah, and David, I think he could do what he wants to do. I think the issue now is it's not necessarily the stock or the money, because someone will be like, Musk doesn't care about that, but Musk does care about Tesla customers in terms of the brand. And I think when you look, if there wasn't such a bright future, then now it wouldn't even mean anything. But the irony is, it's probably the best technology innovation ahead when it comes to FSD, autonomous, and everything.
But if
else.
it is, then shouldn't that stand on its own? And that was what the stock was all about anyway. It was never really about fundamentally selling cars, right? It was never valued that way. So if they're going to have the best technology and be leaps ahead, why does the brand perception matter?
Yeah, I think brand perception matters, because ultimately it's about more and more. You need, how many are going to do cybercabs? What's FSD penetration going to look like? Do current customers continue to own more Teslas? And I believe, if he takes a step back here and starts to balance that, you haven't seen a picture of Musk in front of any Tesla sort of manufacturing factory since Trump took office. So I just believe it is important to balance, because Tesla investors need to know that Musk is running this company. And that's why right now it's really a crisis moment.
But I feel like, Dan, he could, you're saying, though, it's more the politicization of it. I mean, he could step back from Doge, but spend all his time on XAI or SpaceX or Neuralink, and still ignore Tesla.
But to that point, I think the political symbol is the issue, because to some extent, when you look at the frustration that you're hearing from Tesla shareholders, they own the stock not to get into this political sort of crossfire lightning rod. And I think what started to happen is that if he takes a step back over the next 4 to 6 weeks, still stays in Doge, but just starts to balance this better, give a roadmap in terms of Tesla autonomous.
You're saying he has to do the hype job he's always done, right? The stock is basically where it was the last day of 2020. Earnings estimates have been cut in half for this year and next year over the last couple of years. I mean, therefore, he needs to get in there and what? Start to just cheerlead?
Well, he needs to lead this company, because I think to some extent it's like, what's Jensen doing every day? What's Cook doing? What's Nadella doing every day? And look, he's always had the balance, and that's the nature of Musk. But I believe the clock struck midnight for Musk to continue to go down this path. Now, he could continue to go down the path, but from a Tesla shareholder perspective, I do believe this thing has gone into more of a crisis mode relative to brand and relative to the future. And that's why I think longer term, it's the best disruptive technology out there, along with Nvidia. But it's a moment of truth for Musk.
Who's running the Tesla right now, then?
It's a good question. I think, if you look, I do believe the innovation that's happening underneath Musk continues to accelerate. But in terms of Elon, in terms of, day to day, I think that's been part of the frustration for investors.
But that was the case when he bought X and he was spending all the time on X.
I even forgot to mention X. Yeah, of course.
People were worried about the distraction, and then Tesla shares ran up.
But at that moment, Musk did take a step in terms of selling stock. He understood. He started to get more dialed in terms on the investor side. And I think the difference between when it came to Twitter X versus this is the political conception of it, because that continues to be the brand issue. And my whole point is, you take a step back here, balance, hear what investors are saying. I understand everything Mike's saying as well. Then at least I think you have a scar. But if you continue down this path, that's where you have permanent brand damage. And that's the fear. And that's, and look, and that's why we kind of, the thousands of people that we hear from to kind of put it out there.
I think it's worse for brand Democrat, people lighting Tesla dealerships on fire, maybe than Tesla. But Dan, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Dan Ives from Wedbush.
All right, still ahead, the signal and the noise.
All right, who agrees with what Dan Ives says? I mean, I think he's making a pretty basic argument, which is like, hey, the brand is struggling right now, but long-term Tesla makes sense. The problem is, what is the conclusion of what Dan Ives says? Like, Elon's not leaving Doge. We know that. Like, he's made that very clear. S&P 500 back above 5,700, which is nice. Palantir up 2%. So if Elon's not leaving Doge, I mean, what does Dan Ives want? Because if that's not happening, then it's going to be the same old, unless like he wants to see more public appearances by Elon in relationship to Tesla versus the White House, which I don't know, maybe we'll see that, but he's at the White House every day. Right. So it's kind of like I think Dan is stating the obvious, like Elon's distracted. That's hurting the brand, but Tesla's still the best opportunity long-term. But what is the solution to this like obvious issue that's been happening for the past 2 months? I don't think there is a solution unless Elon quits Doge, which, I mean, that just seems like that's not happening. At least not anytime soon. If the culture inside in Tesla is strong, the company is leading itself. Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing about earnings, right? Like, although automotive sales might be down and we might have some crappy numbers, if the core business does show some signs of strength, it didn't necessarily need Elon on the factory floor every single day guiding it. But I think the fear is that if the sales are going to be down, the earnings are going to be down, the guidance is going to be down, like it's just going to lead to a crappy outlook for 2025. Elon addressing the issue and giving some roadmap to what his plans are post-Doge would be good. Yeah, I mean, I wonder if that's the first question on the earnings call. If he shows up to the earnings call, which I'm like 70-30 that he's going to show up. I am giving a 30% chance he doesn't show up. But let's say he does. I think the first question is, what the hell is going on with you not being at Tesla? I wonder if any analyst would have the guts to ask that question. Because I feel like you have to ask that question. He has to address it publicly at some point. And, at this point, the only public statements we've gotten from him is that he wants to fix the country, which is not necessarily fixing Tesla right now. But again, if you believe in the long-term story of Tesla, this just becomes a question of, is it noise? Is it like he bought Twitter, he was distracted, yada, yada, right? Is it just another one of those things? The thing about when he bought Twitter, though, is it wasn't as political as what he's doing with Trump, because obviously, it's Trump. So there's like this immediate correlation between Elon and the Republican Party and Donald Trump. So buying Twitter was definitely political from a free speech perspective. That was his logic behind it. But Doge is just straight up, one team or another team going against each other. As a shareholder, I would start to seriously think about wanting a new CEO, even though I love Elon if he doesn't show for the earnings call. Yeah, I mean, dude, I think he will, but if he doesn't, the only reason I'm saying he won't is because, like, what if the company has been running itself? He doesn't literally need to be there to give you the updates, and the co-president can do it right now. And he doesn't need to waste his time leaving what he's doing at Doge to show up on the call. Like, there's a world in which I see that happening. And I think a lot of people would be pissed. But more likely than not, I would hope he shows up. Because just hearing from him is important. Dude, especially it's like he needs to tell us that Tesla will be better than the next 5 biggest companies combined. Like, he needs to say that shit. Because that's the reason it pumped after the last time. So we need to see if that happens again. Trump is set to talk at 10:40 in about 10 minutes about the crypto summit. I believe it's a pre-recorded message. If it pops up, I will show it to everyone here. I don't know where exactly it'll be posted, but I'm sure we'll find it during that time. But he will be at the crypto summit in New York City later today as well. Oh, by the way, guys, option 201 is happening on Saturday. I got to confirm with Jason. So it's happening 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. So put that in the schedule, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific. Options 201 this Saturday. If you haven't watched Options 101, if any of the mods could link it right now in the chat, I would suggest watching that first. And then then we'll have 201 on Saturday. Mr. Taco, thank you for the $5 super chat. I remember when everyone used to love Elon 5 years ago, his reputation going down, and is his fault. Tesla needs a new CEO for it to grow again. I don't think anyone's denying that his reputation going down is a product of him, venturing out into politics and isolating so many people. But again, I think Elon just doesn't care. Elon just does not care. And that's the thing. It's like you get into the point where like at some point you become such a different human that you stop caring about these different things. I mean, this is the clip from Elon a year and a half ago where he did that interview saying he just doesn't care.
Hurt the company? Are there Tesla owners who say, I don't agree with his political position because, and I know it because he shares so much of it? Or are there advertisers on Twitter that Linda Yaccarino will come and say, you got to stop, man. Or, I can't get these ads because of some of the things you tweet.
This was kind of epic a year and a half ago.
I'm reminded of the scene in The Princess Bride. Great movie.
Great movie.
Where
by the way, it is a great movie. 100% amazing movie.
He confronts the person who killed his father. And he says, offer me money. Offer me power. I don't care.
So you just don't care. You want to share what you have to say.
I'll say what I want to say, and if the consequence of that is losing money, so be it.
I mean, do we really think anything has changed from a year and a half ago when he said that? He said he doesn't care. All right, he doesn't care. So it's not like he's going to start caring now that Tesla stock falls. That doesn't motivate him. Dude, Tesla stock could go to zero. Elon's still worth $200 billion. That's how rich this guy is. So, I mean, like, it's really not about the money, I think. I think it's more about what he's doing this for. And obviously he cares about Tesla shareholders, but I don't think he cares enough to stop doing what he wants to do, even if in the short term, Tesla gets hit, So you either love that he is not going to care about the short-term pain, or you hate it. It's one or the other. And I think that isolation is what's created this pain. Oh, wow. Elon just tweeted a picture of his office. Hold on. In DC. Is this where he works from every day? Is this really his office? Hold on. Look at this. Is that a frog in the background? Holy crap. I think that's his office. Doge. There you go. That's where Elon sits the whole day. That's crazy, bro. That is crazy. Yeah, he posted this a couple hours ago. I'm just seeing it right now. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Omar says you got to respect the guy. He has a certain ghoul and doesn't care what comes in the way of it. A lot of people don't have the balls to be doing what he is doing right now. Yeah, I mean, look, that's always been my logic on respecting Elon is, like, at the end of the day, I just respect so much what he's doing and how he's doing and, how successful he's been by building. It's just, politics gets people really emotional. And when you pick a side, like he has obviously picked a side, you isolate at least 50% of the other side. And so I really wonder in the next 5 years how this story plays out, how people think of him. Is he just the CEO who got super political, or is he the guy who ended up helping save the deficit? Like, I really wonder how the story ends up playing out. over the coming years. TSM right here up 1.5%. UiPath's up 2%. JP Morgan as well, up about 0.5% right now. How many presidents do you think have... Okay, I'm not reading that question, Thomas. What type of question is that? Vin says Elon is very focused on everything he does. Right now, it is the woke virus. Yeah. And again, some people don't think that is a virus, but some people do. So I really wonder, bro, a couple years from now, what is this going to look like? What is it like? I wonder if Europe loves them in a couple years, or does Europe just like continue to despise them in a couple years? You know, like how this plays out. Yeah, Thomas, I started reading your question before I got to the end. I was like, all right, that's you got me. You got me on that one. I'm just gonna read your question anyway. Thomas says, how many presidents do you think have cranked one out in the Oval Office? I don't know what that means, so I'm not gonna answer that, but you guys can answer it in the chat. If you, I don't know what that means. That is I don't know what cranked one out necessitates. So yeah, I don't know. Oh, speaking of Oval Office, though, thankfully your question led me to a segue, Thomas. We did get Trump give a tour of the Oval Office yesterday, and it is pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. There's parts of this thing that are kind of funny, but this is currently what the Oval Office looks like in the United States.
So here's a question I ask. So Reagan has a place of prominence, and George Washington has a place of prominence. And I've asked this question maybe 200 times. People come in. I said, so who would you put in the place of prominence, George Washington or Ronald Reagan? Who would you put? Washington. So far, it's 219-0. And they like Reagan. Oh, I love Reagan. But here's what they like more than anything. So this is the Declaration of Independence. Wow. And they ask that this be done. It's never been up. It's been in the vaults for many, many decades. And they said, we have to do something like drapes or something because the light eventually affects it. And it's very cool. Oh my gosh. Isn't that great? Just went up yesterday. Wow. Think Joe Biden would do this? I don't think so. Do you think he'd think of it? Do you think he knows what it is?
Bro, as soon as he said that, when he says, do you think he knows what it is? I'm sorry, bro. But I was like, this guy's wild.
No, but look at it. So, but this was, none of these pictures were up. You know, very few. It's like very little. And it's been great.
Now, there was a lot made on another network about your bringing in the gold accents to Trumpify the Oval Office.
It needed a little life.
So you have the mantle and you have the cherubs from,
right.
Is that from Mar-a-Lago?
Yeah, that's actually, they're gold, all gold, look. And you know, it's angels. They say angels bring good luck. And we need a lot of luck in this country with what they've done over the last 4 years. So take a look. Do you know that little secret? I don't know if you're going to waste your time putting this on, but throughout the years, people have tried to come up with a gold paint that would look like gold, and they've never been able to do it.
Can't do it.
You've never been able. Look at that look.
So that's what you got now in the Oval Office. Bro, when he said, do you think Biden knows what it is? I'm sorry, but I started dying. I saw that last night. I was like, he did not just say that, bro. He did not just say that, but there you go. Now it goes to the point of what a lot of people are talking about, that he keeps bringing up Biden. And I understand that criticism, that it's annoying for him to keep bringing up Biden, especially when it's a new administration. I get it. I don't love seeing that either. It's just he does it in his own way. And in some respects, it can be funny. In other respects, it can be like, all right, it's time to move on from this guy. But he constantly finds a way to bring him up. VVV, thank you for the €100 super chat. Really appreciate that. I wish you left a comment as well so I could read something out, but thank you so much for the super chat and donation, and thank you for being part of the stream from somewhere in Europe. Thank you so much for the €100 super chat. Thank you for being here, VVV. So yeah, that's what we got in terms of Trump and now the The Oval Office. From the Oval Office, it's all computer. Yeah, that was another funny thing when he got into the Tesla for the first time, and he's like, it's all computer. That has also become a meme as well. I think VVV wanted to give you a number for my question. Oh my gosh, dude. Has anyone been here? Has anyone here been in the Oval Office ever? I have never been in the Oval Office, but I don't know if I told you guys this. My sister was in the Oval Office. My sister was the second ranked debater in the United States in 2011. And she was invited by President Obama to have a talk in the Oval Office. So she and 3 other debaters went there, and she got to shake his hand. And there's this big picture in our house. My mom will never let that memory fade away about her daughter shaking hands with the president. It's kind of crazy, bro. It was happening in 2011. I was like 13, 14 years old. And we actually had a trip in the summer to India, but my sister had this DC thing come up because she had to go to meet Obama. And so we had to change her flight from India to DC. And because it all happened within like a week, and my dad went with her. And then she met Obama. And so it was pretty cool because for my parents, I mean, my parents are immigrants, right? So for their immigrant daughter to meet the president of the United States, it's crazy. And what she has told me about the Oval Office is that it's massive. And then when you step in, it's like Robin Hood, by the way, above 44, you're kind of just like in awe of just like the grandioseness of it. Because like presidents for the past 100 years have been in that Oval Office, you know, so it's kind of crazy. But yeah, I've never been in it. Does your sister flame you in family arguments? No. So I'm not going to lie, bro. This is going to sound cocky, but like I'm better than my sister at debate. Like I'm better. So, and the thing is she was good for her time. But you know how the second sibling always gets the benefit from the first sibling? Like she was good during her time. I became really good. And the reason I became really good is because my school had a lot more infrastructure and money to support me as a debater. So I got to go to more tournaments. So she was good. But like I ended up just having way more support in my school, and I had way more time to debate. Also, I coached after when she was done with debate in high school, she was done coaching. She never coached. I coached for 5 years or 8 years. And so you learn a lot more about debate when you coach versus just when you debate. And so when she tries to argue with me, it's like, it's not even a joke, bro. Like she's not going to win. Like there's no chance. So, and then she'll resort to like ad hom attacks or something. I'm like, oh, so you know you're losing it. Like, because she knows when you start going to ad hom, it's like, you're just an idiot. I'm like, oh, so you don't have an argument. That's like, you really don't. You're going to the idiot. You really don't have an argument at this point. If anyone calls you an idiot during a debate, it's like, oh, they just really don't know what they're talking about. They don't have any analysis. S&P right there, up 0.5%. So yeah, she's not better than me. Family arguments must have been wild. Dude, when we were little, my mom would record us arguing against each other, and she would like, because we were both in debate at the same time. She was a bit older than me though, so like my mom would love us like getting into these back and forths, and we would talk about like crazy shit, like random political topics when we were like 15 years old. None of us actually knew what we were talking about, but we enjoyed debating. She met Obama, which means she's better than you. That's facts, dude. The fact that she has that picture with Obama, it's kind of crazy, bro. So like, I don't even think we realized at the time how big of a deal it was, but it was dope. Okay, here's another question. If you got the opportunity to visit this Oval Office and take a picture shaking hands with Trump, who would take up that offer? Who would do it? Who would take the innovation, or not the innovation? Look at me, dude. I'm so stuck in the stock market, bro. Who would take the invitation, not the innovation, but the invitation to actually shake hands with Trump? Let's do a poll. I think a lot of you guys would actually say no. Okay, so would you take a pic with Trump in the Oval Office? OO is Oval Office. I see 50-50 in the chat. I see a hell no. I see a yes. Palantir's 88. Dude, Palantir. I mean, it's only running because the S&P is up 0.5%. I think a lot of this is macro. Same thing with SoFi. Bitcoin above 86, but it's nice to see the green. Tesla 236, Robinhood right there at 44, up about 3% right now. The Qs are at 44, Affirm's at almost 50, Dell's at 100, AMD's at 107. almost 108. AMD has not had a little run like this for the past couple of weeks now. Netflix at 961. The cruises are up. The airlines are slightly green. Rivian's up. No, Rivian's down 2%. Broadcom's down 1%. iBit's up. Snowflake's up. There is a lot of pockets of green here. Okay, what's the poll? 72% of you said yes, huh? Wow. It's a decent amount of people. Zocult says rather take a picture with Karp than any president. Yeah, Karp is it's surreal when you see him in person, bro. It's like it's like a unicorn, bro. I've had the honor and the privilege of meeting him about 5 times now. It is literally a unicorn. Like, it's like the aura, you know this word everyone's talking about, aura? Like his aura, like even if you're like 5 feet away from him, you can just feel it, bro. And it's like I can imagine when he goes to like get a customer, like a sales call, he steps in the room and these customers are probably just like so excited to be there in the same room with him. And it's just different, bro. It's just different. It's a different type of vibe you get from someone like that. Maybe it's his hair, maybe it's how he talks, but there's just maybe it's obviously everything he stands for and what he's done in his life, but it is pretty exciting. I wonder if it's going to be like that, or if it is like that with presidents. I would imagine for some it is, just because they're the president, but it would definitely be something that would be interesting if you had the opportunity to go into the Oval Office. 1030 dump didn't really happen, by the way, guys. We're green. We are freaking green. We are absolutely freaking green. I also, the Oval Office is more about the office and the presidency itself. That's also true. Like, it's about the nature of being in that Oval Office more so than who is the exact president. We saw that though with the NBA players, right? And some of the football players in Trump's first term, they rejected the visit to the Oval Office because they just didn't like Trump. So like we have seen different teams kind of just say that's not the route they want to go. What else? Wipe your mouth when you're done, Amit. Yeah, I mean, look, yes, I'm a Karp fanboy. I get it. It is what it is. I like Karp. But can you blame me, dude? Can you blame me? The guy has changed my life. Like, can you blame me for being a bit grateful for Karp? Google right here, 164. Oh, also Iliano. If you guys are on Twitter, you definitely should participate in this. Iliano is doing a March Madness bracket of Karp, of Karp's best sayings. So we're doing 1 through 16 right now. And you can see cockroach holder versus steak dinner, self-pleasuring versus rusty crusty, don't play golf versus fake religion, Coke short sellers versus AI revolution. And then there's a bunch of other ones. I think the Coke short sellers is going to make it to the end. I don't know if it's going to win, but I think Coke short sellers has the best shot to make it to the end. So I'll put it in the chat if anyone wants to check that out. But yeah, that was a cool idea that he has right here. I mean, what is the next event that will change the market? April 2nd. April 2nd. That is the next event. We need to see if we come to any level of negotiations or conclusions on these damn tariffs, or if we officially unveil them. And if we do, I don't know. We have to figure out what that means for the broader economy. I still think it's not going to be that bad. I still think it'll be some type of negotiation, but I guess we'll find out. Can we bet on this inside of Robinhood? That would be crazy, bro. That would be crazy. Amit, will you ever come to Atlanta for a meetup? So I don't know if I'm going to be coming specifically to Atlanta, but we are going down south to Texas and Florida. I think maybe not Atlanta in the near term. Definitely eventually we'll go to Atlanta. I've been to Atlanta a couple times. I know more than a couple. It's like 4 or 5 times. There was debate tournaments at the Emory University. So I've been there decent chunk of times. The next meetup I'm thinking in April is going to be Toronto. That's the one I keep coming to a conclusion for. I think Texas will be in May, and then Toronto is going to be in April. Haven't confirmed it yet, but I think that might be what it looks like. So, yeah, the best thing is if I come to ATL, Chris is there already, so that would be perfect. So Chris and I could do it together. How's the apartment search coming? Okay, so that's a good question. So I posted this on Twitter yesterday. I didn't tell you guys about it because I forgot, but I had an apartment tour yesterday that I had to cancel because I forgot J Powell was speaking, and I was like, J Powell or my apartment? J Powell. Like, it's obvious. It's J Powell. It's got to be J Powell. Like, we're not gonna miss Jerome Powell for an apartment. And I needed to cancel it, and I got on the phone, and I was getting annoyed because I knew I was gonna have to go through like 17 different operators to get to someone in the leasing office to cancel the tour. I spoke to an AI, and the AI was pretty damn nice. And literally less than 2 minutes, like I really do think it was maybe 70 seconds. The AI understood what I needed to get done, and then they canceled my touring of the apartment yesterday. There was zero need to deal with a human. Like, has anyone had that experience yet where where you talk to an automated, like a real automated, not just like an automated call, but like an AI oriented automated call that can actually understand the syntax of what you're trying to say? It was one of the best experiences ever. And it was really a awakening moment for me because I was like, dude, this is going to be in banks. This is going to be in hospitals. This is going to be everywhere. Like, why wouldn't it be? Like, why would you pay someone to all I had to say was, hey, I want to cancel. Thank you. The AI was like, sure, your 12:30 listing is canceled. Thank you. Have a nice day. Boom. I mean, it really was incredible. So yeah, maybe I spoke with SoundHound. Correct. Maybe I spoke with SoundHound. I don't know what technology would have. It was amazing, bro. If that's what SoundHound's doing, I mean, I still think the valuation on SoundHound is aggressive, but there is value in that. 1000% there is value. And I think that's definitely going to save companies a lot of costs. Klarna is basically going IPO with doing this. I mean, one of their parts of the roadshow is showing people that we've eliminated, I think, about 750 employees in our support staff because we're automating everything with AI. And the more this happens, I think the more margins can go up in a lot of these companies. And what does that mean for jobs? I don't know, but that does mean that margins can go higher. Okay, Trump is not live yet. Is he live on the Digital Asset Summit? Hold on, let me see. No, he's not live yet. He's not live. I don't think he's talking. Let me see. Trump live crypto. Okay, so the summit is live, but Trump's not talking yet. So when he starts talking, I will go to it. I think it's a pre-recorded message, but it is not officially live. Oh, look who's calling me. Look who's calling me. Steve, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Ahmed. How are you?
I'm good. The show is live currently right now, just to let you know.
Oh, I figured it was over by now.
No, go, bro. We go at least 2.5 hours every day, roundabout.
Well, I just heard something interesting.
Okay.
And this is exactly why I don't think politics should mix with business.
Okay.
So it was just said, and I have not double checked, but it was just said on the news. So I gotta believe that it's probably true that Tesla represents 3% of Minnesota's pension plan.
I did see that headline as well. I think that is correct.
So that's a little crazy that the governor of Minnesota is hoping that a 3% of weighted asset in the Minnesota pension plan goes down. This is why business and politics just don't mix.
Yeah, Minnesota owns 2 million Tesla shares in their pension funds. That's correct.
Business and politics just don't mix.
Well, Tesla's green today, so maybe Walt's called the bottom.
Oh, I think it's going down. That's beside.
What if you're wrong, bro? What if this is the bottom? Like, have you ever thought to consider you might be wrong?
Of course, people are going to make a lot of money. That's why you shouldn't listen to them.
Like, what if sentiment is so freaking bad that we bottomed?
It could be. It absolutely could be. I just don't see it from a fundamental standpoint. And I'm scared about Q1. I don't think Q1 is going to be good.
No, look, you're not wrong. I mean, or you're not alone in feeling that.
And if the Fed doesn't cut rates, then borrowing is going to be more expensive. And I think that's going to impact sales because Tesla's only line of revenue at this point, the majority and lion's share of its profitability is still from autos. So it's just, I don't know.
We got Palantir Green today, almost at $90.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either.
This is going to be an interesting next couple of weeks because, again, April 2nd, the EU came out today and they said they're delaying some of their tariffs until mid-April. So you're already getting, you're already getting countries kind of, getting to the point where maybe
you don't say.
I don't think April 2nd we're going to have mass tariffs. I really don't.
I mean, if other countries decrease their tariffs, most likely we won't implement ours.
Yeah, I agree. Trump speaking at some summit today. I believe he'll be live in 4 minutes, and then we'll switch to him. But any thoughts on what he's going to say about crypto today at the summit?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't follow that stuff.
Do you think if he says 0% tax on crypto gains, that'd be a good idea?
If he says that, then he better set the stage for 0% taxes on long-term and short-term capital gains also.
But he's not going to do that.
Well, then it doesn't matter to me.
I think it'd be interesting if he had 0% on crypto, but
I just don't see how you can have 0% on crypto but not on stocks.
Yeah. I think stock holders would definitely feel that's a bit unfair. 100%.
It would be very unfair.
You know,
I'm really just interested in what the new tax policy is going to be.
Well, it's definitely going to increase the deficit unless we get growth, because it's more cuts across the board, right?
We don't know what it's going to do until everything shapes out. We don't even know what the new policy is going to be.
Well, we know we're getting cuts, that's for sure. Like that's guaranteed if they pass the bill. So they got to make up the deficit.
What type of cuts, though, is a
Well,
question.
it's mainly small business cuts, and the idea is that'll trickle down. But the question is, will it?
Well, the question is he really going to go forward, and is it going to get passed if it gets in the bill about any? And I don't think it's going to be anybody making under 150. I think it's going to be 150,000 standard deduction. But we'll see. That's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
And if they get that passed, I mean, if they get that passed, I think whoever runs on the Republican ticket next term wins it automatically.
Are you buying more Nvidia today?
Not today, maybe tomorrow.
Are you buying anything today or no?
I don't know. Kind of looking. I only have one more week with these spreads on SMCI, so I got to figure out what to do with sell them.
Right.
So no, probably not buying anything today. What about you? Are you bullish enough to buy more?
I mean, I bought more Nvidia at 116. I feel like I would wait until we get back there to those levels.
You know, it seems to be going up.
What?
XYZ.
Well, honestly, everything's up today. Well, that's it's up 1% because of Bitcoin as well, so that's helping.
No, but it looks like it bottomed.
Look, I know you love this thesis, Steve. I'm just not seeing it. I hope
It
it's
looks
bottom.
like it bottomed. It's like up like 9% since I wrote that article.
I hope you're right on this. I mean, granted, the whole market pumped yesterday, so yeah, it should be up. It's up 12% the past 5 days. It makes sense, but a lot of stocks are because of J Powell.
We need a new idea. What's a new idea we can invest in?
I don't know. Trump's live. You want to hear this?
Sure. If I have to go, I'll just cut out.
Okay, here we go.
And the next generation of financial technologies, and it's not going to be easy, but we're way ahead. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted the first ever White House Digital Asset Summit, bringing together many of the world's top leaders in crypto for a conversation led by our White House AI and crypto czar, David Sachs, who's a fantastic and very brilliant guy. That same week, I signed an order creating the brand new strategic Bitcoin reserve and the U.S. digital asset stockpile, which will allow the federal government to maximize the value of its holdings instead of foolishly selling them for a fraction of their long-term value, which is exactly what Biden did. He got a fraction of their value. We're ending the last administration's regulatory war on crypto and Bitcoin, and that includes stopping the lawless Operation Choke Point 2.0. Operation Choke Point went beyond regulation, and I mean far beyond. It was a form of lawfare through government weaponization. Frankly, it was a disgrace. But as of January 20th, 2025, all of that is over. I've also called on Congress to pass landmark legislation creating simple, common sense rules for stable coins and market structure. With the right legal framework, institutions large and small will be liberated to invest, innovate, and take part in one of the most exciting technological revolutions in modern history. It's so big, it's, I think, as big as you can get. Pioneers like you will be able to improve our banking and payment system and promote greater privacy, safety, security, and wealth for American consumers and businesses alike. You will unleash an explosion of economic growth, and with the dollar-backed stablecoins, you'll help expand the dominance of the U.S. dollar, and many, many years to come, it'll be at the top, and that's where we want to keep it. We only want to keep it at the top, always. I can already see that the energy and passion of the crypto community is the kind of spirit that built our country, and it is exciting to watch as you invent the future of finance. And right here, it's going to be right here in the USA, the good old USA. Together, we will make America the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and the crypto capital of the world. Thank you. Good luck. God bless America.
Okay, reaction, Steve.
I mean, you gotta be bullish on crypto at this point. I mean, I'm not a fan of Bitcoin still, but this administration is not going to slow down it, and they're going to actually put framework in so the market has rules so everybody can act accordingly and feel comfortable. I mean, this is the most bullish thing that's going to happen in crypto in 10 years. What was just said right now.
Yeah, I agree. It's just he didn't say anything new, right?
No, I wouldn't say that. When he said it, he basically gave the green light. He basically said the SWIFT banking system is on borrowed time. Is basically what he said.
How did you get an XRP argument from what you just heard? Are you serious? Did you really?
Of course.
Like,
of course.
I don't think Trump even knows what XRP is, dude. I don't think it's that deep. I don't think he's.
Oh, it doesn't have to be just XRP. He flat out said that they are looking to bring the financial system into the 2025 instead of the archaic times.
That's what everyone says. That's not some magical
it's
statement.
Different when he says it at this and asks for legislation to be drafted.
That's fair.
They're going after digital finance, and this is the most bullish thing you could have in crypto. Everybody who loves crypto should be dancing for joy right now.
Well, no, I agree. It's very bullish that this administration is that supportive of crypto. It's just the actual words he said is nothing different than what he said on the campaign trail. You know, that's the only.
The difference is he's not on the campaign trail.
That is true.
That's the difference. That's why this is so historic, because he's actually in a position to deliver now.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying crypto is going to pump tomorrow, but he just paved the way for this to become a legitimized industry that corporations and banks, most importantly, use for transactions. And that is what is very important.
Yeah.
So, look, Bitcoin's always going to be a store of value at this point, even though I disagree with it. Who knows what the fluctuation swings are going to be? But I do think the projects that focus on payments are going to do well. So that's where I'm at on crypto. Who is this? I got to take this. I'll
All
call
right.
you later.
Talk later.
Bye.
Bye. All right, folks. So that's what we got in the context of the Trump crypto announcement. Yesterday, Bitcoin was pumping on this idea that Trump was going to say something. Again, I don't really think he said anything that different than what we've heard over the past couple of weeks. Is it bullish for crypto? Yes. Is there any big policy that he announced? No, at least not yet. But if you're bullish crypto, you've got to be bullish that Trump continues to institutionalize the asset class as much as he can. And again, that's good for a lot of the different parts of the industry. It's just some of the specifics are still not exactly there yet. All right, cool. I think that is it for us on the day. Market close is going to be really important. We got a lot of companies reporting: FedEx, Nike, Micron, and Lennar, home builder. So we have a lot of different industries to look at, a bunch of consumer stuff, semi stuff, home building, and we'll be taking a look at all those different verticals. And we have money market funds that come out after the bell. So that'll be really important. I am not streaming GTC, so I think Nvidia will be streaming it themselves. I'll cover the different stuff they talk about today, which I think has to do with quantum on the close. But I won't be streaming it. Okay, word of the day. What do we got? Word of the day. What are we looking at here? Primaveral. Primaveral.
Primaveral.
Okay. Primaveral. Whatever. It looks like primaveral, but it's primaveral. Pertaining to the early springtime. The forest path was lined with primaveral wind flowers pushing through the last patches of snow. The primaveral breeze carried the scent of fresh blossoms through the open window. Has anyone heard this word before? Pertaining to early springtime. Pertaining to early. I feel like I kind of know this word, but I don't. We are one day away from spring, so that makes sense. So, dude, that's crazy, bro. We have spring tomorrow, March 21st. Do you guys remember March 20th, 2025? Like where the stock market, or sorry, 2020, where the stock market was 5 years later? Like wild. And now we have spring tomorrow. And then in about 10 days, we have April. And then after April, we're going to head into May and June. And then we got the summer, and 2025 will be over before we know it. So that's it. Yeah, at least the word of the day wasn't thermostat. That's thankfully wasn't. Yes, Amit, in Spanish, we use it a lot. Okay. Makes sense. I didn't pay attention in Spanish for the 5 years that I took Spanish, dude. It was so bad. Like, I should know how to speak Spanish, but I don't, because I took it from like literally 8th grade to 12th grade, but I don't remember anything about Spanish. So in spring, you turn off the thermostat. Yes, that's correct. And it was literally wasting 5 years, bro. Like I should have, I don't know. It didn't catch my attention. I didn't. Dude, you guys think my attention is bad right now, dude. In classes, I would be so I'd be daydreaming so much in school, just like looking to the side and thinking of stuff. But I got my work done. I got my shit done. My attention would never fully be there all the time. All right, cool. So we'll be back on the market close. We got a bunch of earnings. We'll keep going from there. Nothing too crazy this morning. It was relatively regular morning. Nothing crazy. Bitcoin's just below 86. S&P is green. Hood's green. Tesla's green. Nvidia's green. We'll see if we can hold it by the end of the day. But outside of that, nothing too wild in the markets. And then it's Marie's birthday on the 22nd. All right, I love it. We will make sure, is the 22nd Saturday? Saturday. All right, so we'll wish you a happy belated Marie on Monday. All right, thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys on the market close. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.